The apocalypse arrives, animals mutate into beastmen. In the previous life, my sister was helpless in the apocalypse and died tragically early, yet the stray puppy I picked up actually transformed into a wolf, becoming a regional overlord that kept me safe through the apocalypse. Reborn once more, my sister preemptively adopts the puppy, while I pick up the abandoned kitten she discarded. Sister, enjoy your 1 in a million ungrateful wretch. I died on the third day after the apocalypse ended. Evander wounded me, found the key I had hidden, then he threw me into a pack of orcs, letting those beasts tear at me until I died in agony beneath their fangs. His gaze turned icy, the warmth in his eyes long gone, as he mocked with a sneer, "Foolish human, bargaining for true feelings with beasts. Did you think we were like your weak and deceitful kind? In the beast clan, strength is the only way to survive. Don't blame me for forgetting your kindness. The victor becomes king. And a king must be ruthless." Agony racked my entire body as I clearly heard the sound of my flesh being torn apart. Until my dying breath, I kept my eyes locked on Evander. 1. The ancients were right, wolfish ambition, a heart of a wolf and lungs of a dog. I was blind to see it. When I opened my eyes again, I saw my sister's beautiful face before me. I suddenly froze. Hadn't she died long ago? The girl in front of me suddenly flashed a malicious smile, then raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The pain jolted me awake instantly. My cheek quickly swelled red, burning with waves of heat. "You little bitch, if you dare seduce Alden again, I'll tear your face off." Believe me, memories came flooding back. I remembered this was 1 month before the apocalypse began. According to my memories, the apocalypse would suddenly occur 1 month later. At that time, heavy rain poured continuously for a week, causing floods in many areas. Then, on the first night after the rain stopped, the sun scorched the earth relentlessly, drying up the entire world at an alarming rate. Under such extreme weather, some animals died or went berserk, eventually mutating into beastmen. They were tall and broad, with bodies as hard as steel, sharp claws and fangs, and walked upright like humans. They could even speak and think, destined to replace weak humans as the rulers of Earth. Some people who kept pets survived under the protection of their transformed beastmen companions. The stray puppy Rain I picked up before the apocalypse evolved into a white werewolf. With top-tier intelligence and strength, it formed a base with several beastmen, and I helped them strategize, recruit other beastmen, and survive the apocalypse alongside Evander. But my sister had always hated small animals. When the apocalypse came, she had no animal companions to rely on and hid for a long time. After we reunited, I took her in. As the only blood relatives left in the world, I set aside our past conflicts and intended to protect her so we could survive together. But my sister grew jealous that I had Evander. She repeatedly sowed discord and even tried to kill me, choking my neck with desperate longing in her eyes. "Once you're dead, I'll be the mistress of this base. I'll live gloriously." I finally saw her for who she was. I stabbed her with a knife, then drove her out to fend for herself. In the end, she also met a tragic death at the hands of a group of orcs. I heard from other orcs that until her death, she still believed I had stolen her destiny. Indeed, she was the one who met Evander first. Seeing my continued silence, my sister hit my head again and cursed, "You damn mute." Yet the next second, I slapped her hand away and punched her in the stomach. My sister stumbled back in pain, looking at me with disbelief. I shook my hand. Since the apocalypse began, I'd started learning self-defense moves to protect myself. Evander and I hadn't had an easy journey. He couldn't always shield me, so I had to grow stronger on my own. I ignored her curses and didn't care what she'd tell our parents. Walking straight out of the bathroom, "The apocalypse is coming soon. I need to make preparations to survive those first chaotic days." Back then, everyone thought it was just ordinary rain. But as the downpour intensified and food grew scarce, people couldn't even leave their homes to buy supplies. The extreme weather led to mass starvation, followed by violent riots over food, neighbors turning on each other in desperation. I've always been invisible at home. My older sister never liked me and constantly bullied me at school, just like today when she casually harassed and insulted me. My father favored sons over daughters and disliked me even more. After my birth damaged her health and made her infertile, my mother saw her dream of having a son shattered and treated me like an enemy, beating and scolding me at every turn. In our previous life, when our family was trapped at home with dwindling food supplies, I was forced to go out and scavenge for groceries. After finally bringing food back, they drove me out to fend for myself. If my sister hadn't discarded my pet as a burden, causing Rain to mutate and evolve into the wolfkin Evander who protected me, I might have been torn apart and eaten by the starving crowd that very night. When my parents finally ran out of supplies and went out to search for food, many beastkin had already mutated by then, still essentially wild beasts at core. They unfortunately met their end in the jaws of those creatures. I've been reborn. My only surviving sister was starving, reduced to scavenging garbage for survival. trailing behind orcs to pick up scraps of raw meat just to barely stay alive. On the day we reunited, she was dressed in tattered rags, filthy and reeking, looking every bit a beggar, while I remained clean and well-fed, never having missed a meal. After all, she's my own flesh and blood, we're each other's only family left. In this world overrun by orcs, I yearn deeply for human companionship, for those of my own kind. Out of lingering compassion and familial bonds, I took my sister in. She seemed to have grown more docile, behaving properly ever since, but in the end, she couldn't keep up the act and revealed her jealousy. From the day she betrayed me and tried to strangle me, I've had not a shred of affection left for her. To curry favor with Evander, she told him about my secret efforts to protect humans, even attempting to steal the key to my hidden supplies for him, while I worked hard to promote peaceful coexistence between humans and orcs. She told Evander I was plotting a rebellion. Evander didn't believe me at the time, even though I had supported him for 2 years, helping him become the Orc King with genuine sincerity. Yet within days after her death, Evander found the sanctuary I built for humans, accused me of betrayal, dismissed my explanations, and executed me under false pretenses to seize the key. In this life, everything will be different. As expected, my sister complained to our parents. Mom was furious and ordered me to leave, while Dad called me a nuisance and threw me a bank card, telling me to find my own place and never come back. I've shown you the utmost kindness and tolerance. When I run out of money, I'll transfer some to your card. Don't blame me for not supporting you. I quickly left and ran back to the previous house. It was an old tube-shaped apartment building with very few residents, only a bunch of stray cats and dogs roaming around. That was the house we used to live in. After Dad unexpectedly struck it rich, this place had been left vacant. Never thought it would come to my aid today. I've been stockpiling supplies for several days. With only 50,000 in my account, I must use it wisely to buy enough essentials. On the day before the apocalypse was supposed to arrive, as my father requested, I went home to visit my sick sister. My sister suddenly developed a fever yesterday. After waking up, she seemed like a completely different person, insisting on adopting some stray dog. The moment I stepped through the door, my sister came to greet me holding a puppy, her face beaming with joy. "Serafina, this is my pet Rain. Do you like it?" Our eyes met, and I saw the triumph and mockery in my sister's gaze. That little black dog with a tuft of white fur on its head was actually the beastman who would later evolve into the White Wolf King. In that instant, I clearly realized my sister had also been reborn. She likely regained her memories during yesterday's fever. She remembered this puppy was hiding in the flower bushes near our home, because in our previous life, we encountered the dying pup on our way back. My sister thought it was dirty and kicked it far away. But I only discovered it when taking out the trash downstairs. This time, my sister found the puppy first. I panicked slightly but pretended to stay calm, reaching my hands toward the puppy. "Sis, I thought you didn't like animals. Maybe I should, too." My sister clutched the puppy tightly, smiling sweetly but with venom in her eyes. "You're trying to trick me, aren't you? In our past life, I meant it first. If you hadn't stolen what was rightfully mine, how could you have become the base commander's wife?" My eyebrows arched in surprise. So she had always thought Evander and I were together. No wonder in her previous life she kept pretending to be delicate in front of Evander, constantly comparing herself to me, both overtly and covertly. Unfortunately, she guessed wrong. We were just friends, though Evander's human form was strikingly handsome and charming. He wasn't of my kind after all. I always treated him like a younger brother. My sister stroked the fur of the little dog in her arms, and it let out a contented purr. No one would ever guess it actually had wolf blood and would one day evolve into a top-tier wolf beastman. My sister had no intention of catching up with me. She was just showing off, as she always had since childhood. Whether it was new clothes or birthday gifts from Mom, she'd make sure to flaunt them in front of me. When I'd throw a tantrum wanting the same, Mom would beat me harshly, while she stood by clutching her toys and laughing heartily. After starting school, she disliked me even more because I had good grades and teachers would praise me. My sister would then tell everyone at school that I was an ungrateful burden, and later repeatedly rallied classmates to isolate and bully me. She would deliberately throw my books in the trash, tear up my homework, put chalk dust in my water bottle, stuff garbage into my desk, drag me to the bathroom to teach me a lesson, and lock me in the storage room. It wasn't until high school that she finally toned it down. Now she's gotten what she wanted. Seeing me frightened, smiling with satisfaction, she patted my cheek lightly, her tone dripping with contempt. "Dear little sister, if you ever become desperate enough to beg me, I might just take you in. After all, I could use a foot washing maid. Wait until Rain evolves into the Wolf King Evander. I'll become the Wolf Queen, and you can just be a dog by my side." Haha, she told me to get lost, then as if remembering something, threw out a skinny little kitten, which I instinctively rushed to catch. My sister said impatiently, trash belongs with trash, if you want it, hurry up and take this stinking thing away. If Alden hadn't given it, I wouldn't let such filth stay in my house, ugly and weak. In the last life it was half dead before even evolving into a beast man. What a jinx. Only making Rain angry. This stupid thing suits you perfectly. My sister left. My first instinct was to put down the kitten, as the scene of my death at Evander's hands in my previous life was still vivid in my mind, but upon noticing the 2 white spots on this kitten's ears, I immediately held it tight and rushed to the veterinary hospital. This was the king of beasts, the tiger that once rivaled Evander for territory in my past life, in his previous life. Evander established a base, taking in various beastmen with the ambition to build a beastmen kingdom. Viewing humans merely as food and slaves, however, the post-apocalyptic world wasn't ruled by him alone. Several other powerful beastmen leaders existed alongside Evander, with his ambition to dominate the world. Clashes with them were inevitable. Among them, the most formidable was a tiger beastman from the other end of the city. Evander fought him several times, each ending in defeat. Making him a thorn in Evander's side, he swore countless times to kill him with his own hands, succeeding only at the end of the apocalypse through a scheme. That was the first time I saw him, his beast ears each marked with a white spot, his entire body surrounded, fur drenched in blood, proud and arrogant. When Evander tried to force him to kneel and beg for mercy, he spat a mouthful of blood in defiance. He died standing, refusing to kneel, this time, to seek revenge against Evander. I must cooperate with this orc and help each other. When I brought it home, it was still unconscious. It was so thin and weak, lying there limp without even the rise and fall of breathing. If the doctor hadn't said it was just severely malnourished and currently asleep, I might have thought it had stopped breathing. No wonder my sister discarded it without hesitation. Both in this life and the previous one, I named it Jojo, hoping it would survive. Jojo was very well behaved and tried hard to live. I took care of it diligently every day, cooking for it, massaging its belly, teaching it to walk, playing with it, watching it grow day by day. It became increasingly attached to me, always snuggling up and rubbing against me. Soon after, my sister dropped out of school. She stayed home with Rain every day, flooding her social media with posts about Rain, appearing like the perfect pet owner. I turned off my phone, picked up Jojo, who was chasing a small pom-pom nearby, and kissed its nose, eliciting a soft, kitten-like mewl in return. After stockpiling supplies and reinforcing the house, the last day of October came to an end. When this night falls, it will mark the disappearance of the normal world. Tomorrow will begin a week of continuous rain, with increasingly heavy downpours leaving people with nowhere to go. As early as a week ago, I had warned about the apocalypse on various social platforms, but such claims were after all absurd, and very few would believe them. I looked at the kitten in its little nest. It had grown much bigger now, its shiny cat eyes staring straight at me, letting out Miaomiao cries. The next day, it indeed started raining, and in the following days, water levels kept rising, with critical rainfall conditions and floods occurring everywhere. People fought bloody battles over a pack of instant noodles or a bag of compressed biscuits. I hit it home with food. Jojo pressed against me anxiously, licking my face as if to comfort me. I held it tightly. It's okay, don't be afraid. Nothing had changed. Torrential rain, death, drought followed one after another, wails everywhere. On a full moon night, Jojo suddenly leaped from my arms, letting out a piercing scream, while animal cries rose all around. I knew evolution had begun. Overnight, the world had completely changed. Orcs evolved more smoothly with someone watching over them. I stayed up all night by Jojo's side, anxious and worried. I had barely managed to sleep for a while when I was suddenly awakened by the sound of banging on the door. Before I could react, the door was kicked open. It was my parents and older sister. My father grabbed me by the hair and slapped me hard twice, splitting the corner of my mouth. I tried to fight back, but my mother pinned my arms down. "You wretched girl, I'm your own mother, and you dare hide food behind my back. If it weren't for your sister being clever enough to see your cruel nature, we'd have been killed by you long ago." My security door was shattered by the white-haired, wolf-eared boy following my sister. His cold eyes stared at me as my sister hugged his shoulder, smirking triumphantly. "Go on, throw her out." The boy grabbed my arm with force, and as I struggled to resist, he directly dislocated my shoulder. The pain made me break out in cold sweat, nearly bringing me to my knees as I was dragged along in humiliation, feeling a surge of fear. Suddenly, a hand pulled me away and shielded me in an embrace, the voice icy cold. "Get out of my house." I leaned back into the embrace of the person behind me, his warm chest giving me a sense of security. Until this morning, that kitten was still just an ordinary cat. It lay on the ground in pain, trembling all over, with blood at the corner of its mouth. Its eyes kept staring at me while other animals had already transformed into beastmen and were causing chaos everywhere, only it remained unchanged. I even thought it was going to fail, and could only hope it would survive, but unexpectedly, it has now successfully transformed into a beastman and is standing in front of me to save me. I gasped sharply, gritting my teeth against the pain as I reset my dislocated arm. Cold sweat trickled down my nose, my legs felt weak, and when I looked up at him, I immediately noticed the king character mark on his forehead and the 2 tufts of spotted beast fur atop his head. It's my Jojo. I whispered a warning, Jojo, be careful. 3. Mom and Dad were startled by the sudden appearance of the tiger beastman and quickly hid behind my sister. Not knowing the origins of this tiger beastman, my sister immediately became intrigued upon seeing his face. My dear little sister, just how many beastmen have you been hiding? Hand them all over to me, and I promise to spare your life. As soon as she finished speaking, the white wolf beastman charged forward like an arrow released from its bow. His eyes gleamed with ferocity, and his strikes were ruthless. I knew clearly, Evander had evolved ahead of time, just like in the previous life, and my sister had already led him to shed blood. Generally speaking, most newly evolved orcs haven't yet adapted to their mutated bodies, prioritizing evasion over attack, and wouldn't be this skilled in fighting. As expected, Jojo was physically weak and could only dodge under Evander's attacks, resisting a few times based on genetic instinct, but was clearly at a disadvantage. Taking advantage of their fight, I quietly stepped back, pulled out my homemade pepper spray from the bag, and threw it at Evander at the right moment. Evander failed to dodge in time, got sprayed in the eyes, let out a low growl while covering them, allowing Jojo to kick him out of the house in one smooth motion. My sister immediately ran out to check on Evander, while my mother raised her hand at me in anger. I kicked out fiercely and pushed my parents out the door. The commotion had already drawn the attention of nearby orcs. My sister glared at me through narrowed eyes, reluctantly helping Evander up as she left. You bitch, just you wait. Jojo stood guard by my side, baring his teeth threateningly at them, scaring my bruised and battered parents into stepping back together. I watched the retreating figures and let out a cold smile. Ever since I helped them find life-saving food in my previous life, my debt of gratitude for their upbringing has been repaid. Now they're just strangers to me. In the apocalypse, if someone threatens my safety, they can't blame me for defending myself. Since Isolde came looking for trouble with me, how could I let her leave easily? Right now, Jojo and I can't kill Evander, nor should we, but causing them some trouble is more than enough. I secretly sprinkled the animal-attracting powder on my parents. Tonight, they'll experience the same terrifying feeling I had in my past life when I was driven out of the house with orcs watching covetously. My sister only thought I survived in my past life by clinging to Evander, not realizing that in the apocalypse, the only one you can rely on is yourself. During my time surviving the apocalypse, I devised many self-protection methods, besides the protective spray that affects orcs. I also created drugs to drive them into a frenzy. Time was tight, and materials were scarce. I could only make a small amount, but the effect seems quite good so far. Over there, Jojo instinctively let out a tiger's roar without any teaching, successfully intimidating the orcs in the area. Then he obediently came up to me to show off, with his strikingly handsome face, and very seriously uttered, "Meow." I patted his head while letting him purr with his eyes half closed. It has to be said, the feel is indeed pleasant, like petting a big cat, and he pressed closer to me, the sound from his throat becoming more pronounced, indicating he was in a very good mood now. I really didn't expect him to be like this. In the previous life, after Evander evolved into an orc, he developed his own personality, although he was gentle with me. He was never this intimate, and even more ruthless towards outsiders. The other orcs seemed to be the same, violent and irritable, cold and cruel, like true beasts. Only Jojo, now he's clearly just a little kitten. I couldn't resist burying myself into his warm chest, squeezing over and over, which made Jojo even happier as he held me tightly. Soon the orc wave arrived, forcing all humans to hide at home seeking protection from their pets, while I stayed indoors holding Jojo. Fortunately, as the king of beasts, his innate dominance over other orcs shielded us from the attacks of frenzied beasts. I also took this opportunity to teach Jojo many things, including survival, speech, reasoning, and combat. Jojo learned very quickly. After a few days, our food was almost depleted. I packed up our belongings and left with Jojo, heading to the secret base that Evander and I had in our previous life. In my past life, I had grown accustomed to death. From the initial pain and fear to eventual numbness, humans became fewer and their status increasingly diminished. Some animals that turned into beastmen remembered how they had been mistreated by humans and harbored deep hatred for them, while others, having received kindness and care from humans, were willing to coexist peacefully, for the sake of peace, for humanity, and to protect myself. I had always planned to establish a post-apocalyptic base where both sides could coexist and rebuild a civilized society. I once thought Evander would be my ally, but in his pursuit to become the king of the beastmen, he ultimately betrayed me. No, I can only rely on myself to build this base. Jojo was a tiny kitten who suddenly grew this big, with few memories and unclear speech, yet steadfastly stayed by my side. We relied on each other for survival along the way. When I asked Jojo if he was afraid, he shook his head with clear eyes and said, "Serafina is my master, I'll always stay with Serafina." Just as we had gathered several peace-loving beastmen during this time and were preparing to establish a base, trouble came knocking. A blind canine beastman arrived with several underlings, looking like a pack of evolved stray dogs that had formed a hunting squad. The one-eyed orc gazed greedily with his remaining eye, looking at our food and then at me. In that instant, I saw hunger in his eyes. Jojo desperately fought him, but they were too many, outnumbered. Jojo quickly struggled, while I defended myself with a sickle, frantically trying to figure out what was happening. This place was secluded and far from people, with scarce resources around. How did they even find us? I threw out 2 sprays, but it wasn't enough against their numbers. Just as we were barely holding on, a bullet struck the one-eyed hound's head, followed by several arrows. The orcs fled. The man held a gun, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, while the girl beside him picked up the bow and arrows with heroic grace. I shielded Jojo, politely expressing thanks. The man smiled and gestured to the woman behind him. "Thanks to Isolde, she sensed there might be supplies nearby, which is how we found you." My sister and I exchanged glances, suddenly realizing the truth. So it was her. She remembered the trivial matters I mentioned in our past life, deduced I'd be here, and even lured the orcs to kill me. I looked at the bow in her hand. One of those arrows nearly hit me, so it was her doing all along, for I took a fearful step back. But she's the one who did this to me. Isolde, who had just approached, nearly lost her forced smile upon hearing my words. The man frowned and immediately glanced at the woman beside him. After receiving her signal, he turned back to me, his expression turning cold. "What do you mean by this? We saved you, yet you accuse a member of our Symbiosis Squad." The Symbiosis Squad is a rescue team established by various organizations and governments after the apocalypse. Unlike the civilian organized Vengeance Squad, whose goal is to exterminate all beastmen, the Symbiosis Squad includes beastmen and advocates saving good humans and noble beasts, supporting peaceful coexistence between humans and beastmen. Who would have thought Isolde would join them too? Isolde immediately put on a pitiful expression. "Little sister, even if you've disliked me since childhood, you shouldn't have run away from home during the apocalypse. As for meeting you here, it's just a coincidence." I gazed at her quietly. "Do you know where this place is?" Isolde naturally shook her head with an innocent expression, and now I saw the couple from earlier also change their expressions. "This place is sparsely populated and remote. If you don't even know this location, how can you be certain there would be supplies here?" Her pupils contracted as she realized she'd fallen into my trap. If Isolde dared to bring people here to search for supplies without even knowing the name or location of this place, there's only one possibility: she intended to get those she brought here killed. Those 2 initially thought Isolde had secretly noted the supply point and brought them there to curry favor, believing their encounter with me was just a coincidence. But since Isolde genuinely knew nothing, her act of bringing people here without permission must have had ulterior motives. Isolde turned pale, seeing their expressions, and stammered in panic, "No, Stellan, Celine, don't listen to her. Isolde certainly knew where this place was, but if she admitted now that she was aware and knew I was here, it would contradict her chance encounter lie. After all, she originally came to collect my corpse and take my supplies to please others." Seeing the situation escalate, Stellan stepped in to mediate and continued talking to me. "Some conflicts between sisters are normal. You two should resolve the misunderstanding privately." Isolde sighed in relief and looked at Stellan gratefully, unaware that Celine was eyeing her with full suspicion. I hid a smile. "They don't care who harmed whom in the apocalypse. Meddling is the last taboo, and they want no part in the feud between us sisters. My goal isn't to make them trust Isolde, but to ensure they always doubt her and stay wary." After some rest, Celine helped me clean Jojo's wounds while Stellan continued archery practice with Isolde. The 2 behaved intimately, with Isolde's delicate little face flushed red, her heart completely not focused on the training. Celine told me they had encountered Isolde by chance, who had fainted from hunger by the roadside. Isolde said her parents were killed by orcs. Her younger sister had run away in anger during the apocalypse and her whereabouts were unknown, leaving her all alone, so they took her into the symbiosis team. I felt suspicious, wondering where Evander had gone. Celine glanced at Jojo, who was crouching on the ground taking a short rest, then suddenly invited me to join them. "I have a feeling that you need me, and I feel the same way." I successfully joined the symbiosis team. After following them back to the main group, I realized the team was much larger than I had imagined. Their base was a 3-story villa. The team consisted of 3 beastmen and 10 humans. With our addition, the group had expanded significantly. I alone brought 3 orcs with me, which left them somewhat awestruck. Isolde saw a hint of admiration in their eyes and immediately spoke up, her tone ambiguous. "My little sister here is quite formidable. With some strange ability, almost as if she's naturally gifted at bewitching others. First it was animals, and now she's got people utterly spellbound, not like me, clumsy with words and unlikable, with no one to protect me, just struggling to survive in this apocalyptic world," though she said it jokingly with a smile. Her words implied that my method of taming the orcs was underhanded, and even joining the symbiosis squad involved shady tactics, as expected. Her words made the team members who had been smiling to greet me instinctively frown and step back, reassessing me. Stellan noticed Celine's displeasure and gently patted Isolde, saying that will make everyone misunderstand. Serafina is Isolde's sister, who got separated from her for some reason. She's a peace-loving person, and the orcs around her were taken in by her. Now that Miss Serafina has joined us, bringing new strength to our team, let's give her a warm welcome, in any case. The initiation ceremony was successfully completed. Next comes registration and replenishing supplies. When it came time to assign rooms, Isolde generously gave up her own room for me, wearing an understanding expression. "No matter how much you dislike me, I'm still your sister, and I'll take good care of you." Several members stood by watching, expecting me to decline, but I simply nodded and tipped Jojo into the room. The youngest male member immediately rushed over to stop me. "Wait. Isolde has poor health and no combat skills. This room is large, warm, and next to the captain's quarters. You can't stay here." Isolde smiled gently. "Kian, Serafina is my sister. It's only natural that I yield to her." Kian grew even angrier, glaring at me fiercely. "No way. Why should she get to take what's yours the moment she arrives?" In just a few words, I'd already been cast as the villain who stole her sister's room. Jojo frowned in confusion. "Serafina deserves the best." Everyone glared at me, but it didn't matter. I'd long stopped caring. Leaving the crowd behind, I walked straight into the room. Jojo's massive frame blocked the doorway, leaving them powerless to stop me. In the days that followed, Jojo and I joined the team on missions, rescuing people, scavenging supplies, building a new base. Through repeated battles, Jojo grew even more formidable, quickly becoming the orc chieftain of the area. He even successfully subdued a small orc tribe and established a new supply zone. At the victory banquet that night, I went to Stellan's room to find him. When the door opened, Stellan's corpse collapsed before my eyes. In a flash of lightning, I realized I'd been framed. The next second, Isolde's scream shattered the merry night. As Kian threw a full-force punch at me that Jojo caught firmly, my face turned deathly pale. Celine pushed through the furious crowd, gazed at me briefly, then went to examine Stellan's corpse. Stellan was poisoned, and in the entire base, I'm the most skilled at pharmaceuticals. I stared at Stellan's gruesome death, my scalp tingling and my entire body turning ice cold. It was indeed killed by my medicine, but I haven't even developed it yet. I suddenly looked up and clearly saw Isolde's concealed smile. The members were all furious, threatening to kill me as a sacrifice for Stellan. I explained that Stellan was already dead when I entered, but I had no evidence to prove my innocence. "I'll beat you to death, you ungrateful wretch. I should have taught you a harsh lesson earlier. It's you who harmed Brother Stellan." Isolde shouted at me with a tearful voice, her face full of grief and indignation. As she raised her hand to strike me, Celine stopped her. Before things could escalate, Jojo sensed the tension and approached me. "It's common knowledge that Serafina is skilled with medicine. Even if she wanted to harm someone, why would she be foolish enough to use poison?" Kian snorted coldly. "She might have used that very fact to her advantage, employing medicine to create confusion." In the end, it was Celine who stepped in to restore order, taking the beastmen to search each room for clues. Everyone glared at me until Celine returned shortly after, holding a thumb-sized glass vial containing traces of a purple-tinged liquid. 5. I recognized it immediately. It was the poison that killed Stellan. The same toxin Evander and I developed after establishing our base in the previous timeline, now appearing prematurely in this life. A terrifying conjecture crossed my mind. Sure enough, Isolde beside me flashed a manic grin, her eyes brimming with mockery. She couldn't wait to see me killed. As expected, several members grew even angrier, charging at me one after another, only to be halted mid-step by Jojo's thunderous roar. He shifted into a defensive stance in front of me, his expression grim, icy glints flashing in his tiger-like eyes. "Impossible. Why would Serafina kill him for no reason? There's something fishy about this." Several members flushed with anger, saying resentfully, "We should have known beastmen can never be tamed. She killed our captain, yet you still stubbornly defend her." Isolde's eyes darted around as she said sorrowfully, "It's my fault. Stellan and I are deeply in love. But my sister has always enjoyed stealing what's mine. She's been pestering Stellan too, saying she wants to be the captain's wife. If she can't have that, she'll surely take revenge on us. It's all my fault. If only I'd let her have Stellan, none of this would have happened. Her eyes turned red from crying, looking utterly pitiful and stirring even greater resentment toward me among those present. I let out a cold laugh, pulling out a red handkerchief from behind me and throwing it towards Isolde. The previously weeping Isolde instantly dodged the handkerchief, cursing in fear. Serafina, are you so ashamed and angry that you'd kill me too? I crossed my arms, waiting leisurely. You know that potion turns from purple to red when exposed, right? You knew the danger of that poison. Just touching it would be fatal, so after killing Stellan, you didn't even bother to take the handkerchief with you. You thought it was foolproof, but in your haste, you forgot. Why would I ever handle a poisoned handkerchief barehanded? Only then did Isolde realize she'd been tricked by me. That red handkerchief was fake. Upon closer inspection, it wasn't a red handkerchief at all, just a scrap of red-dyed fabric. Isolde's expression shifted rapidly while the others looked on in confusion. Before she could say another word, Celine's orc swiftly subdued her. While everyone was shocked, I spoke calmly. I probably wouldn't want to be the captain's wife, because the Symbiosis Squad's captain isn't Stellan. Everyone was stunned, and Celine revealed the captain's exclusive necklace, engraved with her ID number. The air fell silent for a moment, then Isolde furiously cursed. Bitch, you've been lying all along, you bitch. The matter is clear. Isolde privately approached Stellan before the banquet and poisoned him to death. She knew the poison would turn red upon contact with air, thus exposing herself, but I know this poison's secret was only known to me and Evander, which proves Evander has also been reborn. He used a divisive tactic to frame me, inciting conflict between orcs and humans for his own benefit. Isolde was imprisoned in the storage room while members of the Symbiosis team gathered to bury Stellan. Celine deeply regrets her prolonged identity deception. I'm sorry, everyone. But to protect the captain and secretly document team affairs, every deputy leader of the Symbiosis Squad must impersonate the captain. Only after falling in battle can the true captain resume leadership. Under these circumstances, no one could voice objections, except Kian. Having loved and believed in Isolde all along, he now discovered she was the true deceiver, quietly retreating to wipe away tears. After a brief respite, the Symbiosis Squad swiftly returned to their posts, each attending to their duties. In this apocalyptic world teeming with dangers, people cannot afford to wallow in sorrow. Celine wondered how I discovered she was the true captain. Jojo used his thick, fluffy tail to sweep a spot clean for me to sit, advising me to drink less before leaving with two subordinates. Watching his strong, powerful figure walk away, I sighed at how quickly time flies. It's simple. During our first meeting, I noticed Stellan would always glance at you before making any decision, even for something as significant as recruiting me. You made the call without consulting him. Celine let out a bitter laugh and took a sip of wine. That night, I told her about Evander, speculating that he and Isolde must have gone through quite a lot after parting ways with me. It's highly likely my parents perished in the jaws of orcs. Evander and Isolde split up. One went south to establish his own orc stronghold, while the other headed north to hunt down me and Jojo. During my time in the Symbiosis team, all the major and minor attempts to harm me were orchestrated by Isolde. As for this recent frame-up, it must have been taught to her by Evander. Evander replicated my potion and used it to harm me. Now that Evander has been reborn, he will only increase his guard against me and Jojo, making it even more difficult to kill him. Evander is determined to establish his own kingdom of beastmen and subjugate all humans. If we want a peaceful world, Evander must die. The next day, I planned to interrogate Isolde about their plans, but Kian was acting strangely, insisting on staying by her side as if afraid I would harm Isolde. His feelings toward his sisters are quite complicated now, even blaming my arrival for disrupting the peace. I can't be bothered with him, so I told Jojo to leave. Jojo seemed somewhat upset. Since the apocalypse began, we've always been together. Even as he grew stronger and busier, he would still stay by my side during his free time. Now that I'm telling him to leave, he's clutching my sleeve tightly. I soothingly squeezed his palm and finally managed to persuade him to leave, but I didn't expect that just minutes later, I'd be knocked unconscious by Kian. Before passing out, I heard a deep male voice say, "We meet again, Master." When I woke up again, a white-haired man was standing before me. He let out a soft chuckle and said, "Finally awake. I was afraid you'd miss this grand spectacle." Following his gaze, I nearly vomited from fright. Isolde was already beaten bloody, hanging from the beam with all her fingernails ripped out, screaming in agony while Kian had long wet himself and fainted. Isolde was revived with cold water, crying and begging Evander to spare her for saving his life. Evander's fingers traced my pale face as he smiled gently. What's wrong? Aren't you happy I'm disciplining your sister for you? It's just a pity your parents have already been killed by her, otherwise seeing 3 people get their just desserts today might have made you happier. 6. Cold sweat broke out in my palms as I found myself bound by ropes, unable to struggle. Evander was determined to make me watch his revenge, enumerating Isolde's crimes with every strike, not just her actions toward me, but also her abuse of small animals, and even how she beat and tormented Evander while raising him, forcing him to make videos. Isolde thought Evander wouldn't remember, but the reborn Evander inherited all this body's memories, including those from his time as Rain. Evander is cold-blooded. He may not repay kindness shown to him, but he will certainly seek vengeance against those who harm him. Isolde's pleas for mercy grew weaker and weaker until she was dragged away, barely alive. Evander asked me how I wanted to handle it. I looked at his smile and bit my lip without speaking. Master, you're still so kind-hearted and weak. Isolde was thrown into the orc horde by him, just like in the previous life, and my sister met a tragic end again under the orc's fangs. Evander held my hand and admitted he was wrong. It turned out my death had enraged humanity. The Symbiosis Squad and human slaves collaborated from within and without, rising up in rebellion a year later, causing countless orc casualties. Evander himself perished in the war. He took my hand and said with deep affection, "Only after your death did I realize how important you were. I love you, my master. Let's be together again, you as my queen, and we'll rule the orcs together." For several consecutive days, we appeared together everywhere. He treated me with tender care, granting me immense power and letting me experience the feeling of being above others. Finally, he proposed to me atop the base's high walls. With tears in my eyes, I personally placed the ring I made on his finger, then held his hand and gazed into his eyes. Evander was indeed overjoyed, ordering the base to celebrate together, and the next day launched an attack on the Tiger King orc territory as a gift for me. I drew closer to him, leaning near his ear. "Evander, you know what? I also never forget a slight." The next moment, a thunderous cheer rose in the distance, with Jojo unmistakably leading the charge at the forefront. I swiftly leaped off the high platform, landing safely in Jojo's arms as he scolded furiously, "Serafina, this kind of recklessness can only happen once." With Jojo and the orcs attacking from both sides, aided by peace-loving orcs and humans within the base, Evander's forces were steadily pushed back in less than 2 hours. In the end, Evander and Jojo stood face to face, their eyes burning with mutual hatred. "As an orc, you've always sided with humans. You're nothing but a disgrace, a traitor to our kind." Jojo clenched his fists, his muscles bulging as he gathered all his strength and threw a powerful punch. "Killing innocents, you should pay with your life." Evander dodged, ready to counterattack, but suddenly felt his heart convulsing in spasms. His movements faltered, his steps unsteady, allowing Jojo to land a brutal strike to his forehead, before dying. He looked at me and finally realized I had poisoned him. It was the ring. I had hidden a tiny silver needle inside. Orcs have thick skin and a dulled sense of pain. The prick didn't arouse Evander's suspicion, successfully delaying the poison's effect until it took hold. In my past life, he killed me out of fear of my poison, but this time he finally died by my venom. I suspected he would take Isolde away, so I deliberately visited her daily. That day, I had planned to hide a tracker on Isolde, but things happened too suddenly. Fortunately, Celine still followed my tracker and caught him off guard. I've finally succeeded in avenging myself. Afterwards, led by Jojo and Celine, humans and orcs signed a symbiosis agreement, helping each other, coexisting peacefully, and working together to rebuild their homeland. I don't know how long this peace will last, but I believe that no matter what, someone will always step forward to bear this profound and difficult responsibility. Story 2. My boyfriend was reborn. He said that the end of the world would come in a month, so he borrowed usury with my ID card to stock up on supplies and reinforce the house. However, because my boyfriend made too much noise when stockpiling supplies, his abnormal behavior was noticed. A few days after the end of the world arrived, most of the supplies were snatched away. After surviving for 2 months in the apocalypse, the supplies were getting fewer and fewer. In order to survive, my boyfriend pushed me downstairs when we went out together to look for supplies. Then, it was my turn to be reborn. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw my boyfriend, Blaze, running up to me in a panic, looking at me very nervously. "Daisy, listen to me. Next month, on September 16th, the end of the world will come. We have to stockpile supplies quickly. Give me your ID card quickly. Let's go borrow money first." Then Blaze started rummaging through boxes and cabinets, Searching out all the valuable things, seeing that I didn't respond, he shook my shoulders and said, "I'm serious, I'm not joking, there really is an end of the world. I was reborn. In the last life, we had a very miserable time, without supplies, we starved to death quickly, there really was an end of the world, but in the last life, I didn't starve to death, I was pushed downstairs by Blaze and died." This wasn't Blaze's first time being reborn, this was his second time. Just like in the last life, he came to me and said there would be an apocalypse, wanting to take my ID card to borrow usury. In the last life, I didn't believe him, I thought he had read too many novels and had delusions. I suggested he go see a psychiatrist, and then I went to participate in the company's 28-day closed-door training. Unexpectedly, Blaze secretly hid my house key, took my ID card, borrowed 800,000 in usury, stocked up a house full of supplies, and added an iron door to my top-floor house. When I came back, I couldn't even enter my own home. Just as I was about to break up with Blaze and ask him for compensation, there came a series of screams downstairs. The end of the world arrived, just like in the movies. With the zombie virus, I hid in the house reinforced by Blaze, which could be considered a safe house in the apocalypse, since it was a safe house built by Blaze and the supplies were also bought by him. I could only follow all of Blaze's arrangements. After that, I did all the housework, and Blaze was like a landlord who had turned over a new leaf, ordering me around. Our original relationship as a couple seemed to have turned into a master-servant relationship. Several times, I wanted to resist. After all, I was more dominant before, and Blaze always listened to my arrangements. This house was also bought by me. But Blaze was reborn. He knew a lot of information about the end of the world that others didn't know. If I was alone, the probability of surviving was very small. I could only swallow my anger, then keep observing the surrounding environment, inquire about the information of the end of the world with Blaze, and at the same time secretly exercise my body, so that I could have the capital to resist when there was a conflict with Blaze. Just 1 week after the end of the world, Blaze saw that people in the community group were desperately begging for supplies. He became more and more arrogant, took pictures of all his supplies and posted them in the group to show off, which aroused public anger, and during the decoration, Blaze made too much noise, making people remember the address. Before long, the people in the community were smashing the door outside. The iron door reinforced by Blaze was of average quality and was quickly smashed open by an axe. Most of the supplies were snatched away. We could still have half of the supplies left because when I found out he was showing off, I quickly hid some of the most useful supplies in a storage room. The storage room was decorated by me to be relatively invisible. During the chaos of the robbery, it wasn't discovered and managed to survive. Most of the supplies were snatched away. 2 months later, we had to go out to find food. I had been exercising for 2 months, and Blaze couldn't beat me anymore. Now it was slowly returning to the time when I was in charge. Just when we were searching for supplies in the mall, he pushed me downstairs when I wasn't prepared. Just like that, I died, and then it was my turn to be reborn, too. As soon as I woke up from the pain, I saw that Blaze had already started preparing to stockpile supplies. Now that I think about it, at first, Blaze didn't dare to believe that there would be an end of the world either. He was afraid it was just a strange dream, so he used my ID card to borrow usury, and the renovation was also of my house. He was afraid that if the end of the world didn't come, his money would be wasted. Even if the end of the world didn't come, it was me who owed the usury, and it was my house that was renovated randomly. He didn't have much loss, at worst. He could give some compensation and then break up with me. Blaze, have you watched too many movies? How could there be an end of the world? I planned to pretend not to believe Blaze, just like in the last life. Daisy, it's true, I was reborn. As soon as I was reborn, I came to find you. The end of the world is really coming soon. We have to hurry up and stockpile supplies. Reborn again, and the end of the world. This is a worn-out routine in novels. Have you watched too many short videos, or haven't you woken up from your dream yet? No, I remember very clearly, it's definitely not a dream, and there are already signs on the foreign websites. Didn't they say on the internet that there is another unknown virus? It was the same with the previous epidemic. At most, it's just another new epidemic. Daisy, please believe me, just believe me once. There really is an end of the world. I remember it clearly. Believe me, I won't lie to you. I smiled inwardly. This scumbag not only lied to me, calculated me, but also wanted my life in the end. I didn't want to entangle anymore, so I pushed him out the door. Blaze, are you having hallucinations because you're too tired recently? I suggest you go see a psychiatrist. I'm going to training tomorrow. It will take 28 days. I need to rest early now. Goodbye, Daisy. Daisy, open the door. Daisy. Blaze knocked on the door outside for a while. When he found out that I wouldn't open the door, he left. After he left, I started to sort out the current situation. First of all, the end of the world will come. Everything is too real, especially the pain of falling from a high place. Now when I think back to that heart-rending pain, my scalp tingles and my whole body shakes. I still remember that there will be several major news items tomorrow, which can also verify whether I'm really reborn. Secondly, there are the safe house and supplies. This house won't work, even though it's on the top floor. The community is densely populated, and people come and go. After the end of the world arrives, there are so many zombies downstairs that they can even dance together. Plus, it's impossible to hide the transportation of supplies, and according to my memory in the last life, there were just a few people doing renovations in the same building. They are very good at destroying iron doors. The iron door reinforced by Blaze can make people feel that there is something wrong at a glance. In the end of the world, the most thing to be careful of is not zombies, but inhumane fellow humans. The safe house has to be a house in a sparsely populated place. It's best to be a single-family house. The self-built house that my father left in his hometown, which was half renovated, can just be used. I have to go and take a look tomorrow. As for supplies, make a list first. I originally wanted to search for doomsday stockpiling novels by myself, but I found that the efficiency was too low, so I downloaded hundreds of doomsday stockpiling novels on the best-rated list in a package and fed them to ChatGPT for learning, asking it to help me sort out the supply list. Now I need to start counting my property. The current deposit is 80,000. The financial products are 640,000. The stocks are 210,000. The house can be sold for 1,500,000, and the loan can be 3,500,000. In total, it's 5,930,000. I have to calculate carefully how to spend this money to buy more supplies. Suddenly, a feeling of hunger spread throughout my body, interrupting my thinking. Hungry, so hungry. After the end of the world, I never had a full meal again. I could only eat dry food. Later, I even had to swallow rotten raw meat. I rushed into the kitchen and immediately opened the refrigerator. Seeing fresh lettuce, tomatoes, apples, plums, and yogurt, I gobbled them all up. Delicious. So delicious, it's the taste of fresh fruits and vegetables, making me can't help but keep eating, but because I ate too much and too fast, I vomited it all up. Looking at the mess on the ground, the emotions of loneliness, fear, and sadness in the end of the world surged up like a tide. Finally, I couldn't hold back and burst into tears. My parents died in a car accident 6 years ago. The only relative, my aunt's family, had their eyes on our house after my parents died. In the end, we broke off contact. They even said that my parents deserved to die in the car accident and slandered my family everywhere. After that, I was almost an orphan. It was at this time that Blaze took advantage of the situation and became my boyfriend. Blaze could be considered the closest person to me, but he calculated me even before the end of the world started and finally even killed me in this life. I will never let Blaze go. I will make good use of this month to prepare well and survive alone. 3. Today is August 13th, 30 days before the end of the world. When the alarm clock rang in the morning, I simply washed up and prepared to go to work. I remember that 4 things will happen this morning. As long as all 4 things happen, it will prove that I'm really reborn. On the subway, I kept refreshing the real-time news and finally saw the first 3 things. The first thing is a comical news. A woman was not satisfied after having double eyelid surgery, sued for compensation, and demanded that the attending doctor be shot. The second thing is that a vicious hit-and-run incident occurred in the Dongqing district. The hit-and-run driver took revenge on society and killed 3 people. The third thing is that a gunfight broke out in a neighboring country, killing 7 people. I swiped the news and walked into the company gate. I met my direct supervisor, Soren. He called out to me and said, "Daisy, Xiaowang asked for sick leave today. It's sudden appendicitis. You'll have to host this training. This is your chance. Show your best." This is the 4th thing, and it also happened. All of them happened, which means that the rebirth thing is true. Seeing that I was absent-minded, Soren added, "I know you applied for a salary increase in the middle of the year, and I know you work very hard. But now the company is under great performance pressure. And there are limited salary increase quotas. To get a salary increase, you have to work harder than before and learn to show yourself. This training is a very good opportunity to show yourself. Originally, I planned to give this opportunity to you, but unfortunately, Xiaowang snatched it, unexpectedly. It still came back to you. It's fate, do it well. And we can first increase your Q3 bonus coefficient and then help you promote the salary increase application at the end of the year. I interrupted the pie that Soren had been drawing for several years. Thank you, but no need. Don't thank me. What did you say? What's not needed? No need for a salary increase. I quit. What do you mean? I stared at Soren and said word by word. I quit. Think it over. It's very difficult for you to find a job at your age. Don't come back and beg me when you can't find a job. While talking, I submitted my leave and resignation applications on OA. I rolled my eyes at Soren. I've already submitted my resignation on OA. I haven't approved your resignation. You're not allowed to leave now. I'm notifying you 30 days in advance that I'm resigning. I don't need your approval. I have 24 days of overtime compensatory leave and 10 days of annual leave from now on. I'm on leave. Soren flew into a rage and pointed at my face and cursed. Just you wait. I won't approve your leave. I ignored Soren's subsequent curses and walked straight out of the company and hailed a taxi to go to a car rental shop nearby. On the way, I complained to the HRBP about Soren's incompetent management and PUA of subordinates in passing, and then sent the evidence emails of his taking kickbacks that I had collected before to the audit department. Subsequently, I quit all work groups and customer groups and blocked all the leaders' WeChat accounts. I immediately felt refreshed. I first rented a van at the car rental shop. It can be used as a means of transportation and also to load supplies. Now I'm going to the mountains in the suburbs to take a look at the self-built house left by my father. 6 years ago, my father demolished the ancestral house and rebuilt it. He built it to use for his retirement, but unexpectedly, just after the water and electricity were installed, my parents had a car accident, and the construction of this house stopped. Now I have to go and see the situation to see if it's suitable to be a safe house. The house is on the top of the mountain. There are only 4 or 5 families on the whole mountain, because the mountain road is rugged. There is fog in the mountains all year round, and there is a section of the road without signal on the way up the mountain. Although the scenery is beautiful, it's really difficult to live here. Basically, no one lives here anymore. They have all moved to the town at the foot of the mountain. Now the outer wall of the house is covered with vines. At first glance, it looks like an abandoned haunted house for many years. The house has a total of 5 floors, with 3 rooms on each floor, and there is also a 2-story basement. There is a pond dug outside and an open space. The water and electricity in the house can still be used. Now it's necessary to complete the basic facilities. The windows and doors have to be well made, and a fence and electric grid have to be installed around the house to block the zombies. While I was still thinking about how to decorate, Blaze's phone call came in. Daisy, where are you? I'm at work. Didn't I say yesterday that I'm going to participate in training for 28 days and can't go home during the period? Do you really have to go for 28 days? Yeah, why are you looking for me? It's nothing. I just wanted to ask where you were. I was really confused yesterday. I was afraid I scared you, so I wanted to find you to explain today. It's good that you're okay. Pay more attention to rest. I'll hang up. Okay, love you. I hung up the phone with a look of disgust. I didn't want to hear Blaze say such hypocritical words at all. At this time, he should just want to make sure if I'm at home and is going to sneak into the house to take my ID card to loan and stockpile supplies. Unfortunately, I had already taken my ID card away. This time, he could only use his own ID card to borrow usury. This time, not only will I not let him use my ID card, but I also won't let him use my house. I watched the surveillance. After Blaze went out, I contacted my aunt whom I hadn't contacted for 6 years to come to my house and prepared to sell my house. Daisy, I didn't expect you to contact us. I invited my aunt's family to sit down. My aunt said a little unnaturally, we haven't seen each other for 6 years. There were some misunderstandings before. At that time, we just thought that you, a child, might be short of money. Plus, you live in such a big house alone and might be lonely, so we thought we could add some money to exchange houses. We really didn't consider your feelings a bit. Exchange houses, how ridiculous. My high-end community for her old and small house, and she only gives me 500,000. Her calculations were almost hitting me in the face. I really didn't want to listen to her being friendly anymore and said, "Aunt, let's get down to business." Okay, you say, we're listening. I'm planning to get married, but the house is too far from both of our workplaces. I'm going to sell it and buy a closer one. Since I'm going to sell it anyway, I thought I'd sell it to my own family. When my aunt heard this, she clapped her hands and praised it. Only when she was pulled by my uncle beside her did she not laugh too loudly. Yes, of course, we don't want to let the benefits go to outsiders. So, how much are you planning to sell it for? This house of mine is probably worth 2 million in the market, considering it's you, and it's okay if you give me 8 million. Well, you know that my family's financial situation has always been poor. Your sister-in-law is going to have a baby, and your cousin is getting married. We need to save more money for the dowry. Can you make it a bit cheaper? And my house has 4 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, which is enough for your whole family to live in. It's also in a high-end community and comes with a school district. At this price, many people will be eager to buy it. I know. But we're really in a bit of a difficult situation, for the sake of our kinship. Can you lower the price a bit more? Well, aunt, you name a price. My aunt looked at my uncle, then at my cousin, and said slowly, well, how about 3 million? As soon as I heard this, I immediately stood up and wanted to ask them to leave, but my uncle stopped me. Daisy, wait a moment, we can still talk. Don't be in a hurry to let us go. Uncle, this price really doesn't work. I'm willing to sell this house to you guys because of our kinship, with 3 million. You can't even buy the smallest apartment unit. My uncle thought for a long time. He looked at me, then at my aunt, and gritted his teeth and said, then let's each take a step back. How about 5 million? Do you think it's okay? I stared at my uncle without speaking, giving the impression that we could continue the negotiation. Seeing this, my aunt immediately said, I can tell that you're in urgent need of money now. We can pay half of the money first. When I heard that they would pay half of the money first, my eyes lit up. My uncle immediately took advantage of the situation and said, yes, pay half first. You sign the contract with us first, and after the transfer of ownership, we'll transfer the remaining half to you. How about this? Pay 1 million first. We'll handle the transfer of ownership on September 15th. All the furniture and other things inside can be given to you directly. You can move in with your bags on September 16th next month. Well, my aunt looked at the whole family and said, how about we go home and think about it first, and then give you a reply? It's up to you. This house of mine is very popular. The furniture and everything are custom made. You can take a look around first, but if someone else books it first, I won't wait for you. Okay, we'll take a look first. I sat on the sofa and watched as my aunt's family inspected each room back and forth, looking carefully at every corner as if they were inspecting their own belongings. After an hour, they reluctantly left my house. Less than an hour later, the phone rang. 5. My aunt called and said that they wanted to buy the house. Then we signed the contract at a nearby real estate agency and agreed that they would transfer 1 million to my account in a few days. When I got home, I started packing my luggage. In order not to let Blaze notice anything unusual, I only picked a few clothes that were convenient for movement and also took away all my valuable jewelry. At the same time, I placed the surveillance camera in a hidden corner. Finally, I went to a hotel and booked a standard room for a month. In the hotel, I began to prepare for the upcoming end of the world. The most urgent thing was to renovate the house first. It had to be renovated within half a month in advance. If it was only renovated before the end of the world came, and since it was mainly for reinforcement and defense, it would be too obvious, just like telling everyone that there was something wrong with this house. Moreover, there wouldn't be enough time for me to stockpile supplies. I used my savings to find an out-of-town decoration company with a budget of 300,000 yuan. I took them to the mountain and stated my requirements, reinforced the house with a fence around it. It's best to add an electric grid because there are wild boars nearby. Except for the bedrooms on the 1st floor and the 5th floor, there's no need to decorate the other parts. A freezer needs to be built in the basement. The other parts are mainly for sound insulation and heat preservation. Use the best doors and windows, which are anti-theft and explosion-proof. After hearing my strange requirements and seeing that I always wore a mask and didn't show my true face, the decoration foreman couldn't help but ask, Beauty, what are you going to use this house for? We're an internet celebrity company and plan to create an account for renovating our hometown, so we need to do the decoration ourselves. But there are wild boars around, so it's not safe. Oh, I see. I've watched a lot of renovation videos. Many of them say they do it themselves, but actually, they have a team, right? Looking at the foreman's gossipy look, I just made up something casually. To be honest with you, in our line of work, we all have a team, so we just need to decorate 2 bedrooms, we'll eat and drink here, and the freezer needs to store supplies, and we can't let people see the traces of the previous decoration, especially on the outside of the house. Then we'll just record a video pretending to do the decoration, and then find a company to do the real decoration. In this way, when editing, it will have a strong contrast, and the audience will like it. Yes. I see that many people like to watch this kind of thing. Beauty, you can come to us for the next decoration. Our quality is definitely better than yours, and the price is also affordable. It's possible, if you do a good job. We have several other houses that we can entrust to you. First of all, the fence outside needs to be sturdy. Also, we need to prepare some building materials and stack them in the open space, making it look like we're doing the decoration ourselves. Sure, no problem. And we're in a hurry, it needs to be finished by August 23rd. You also help me prepare some furniture. I'll make a list for you later. Money is not a problem, as long as you do a good job. We can have a long-term cooperation. Okay, don't worry, beauty, leave it to us. We'll definitely make you satisfied. After explaining the decoration requirements, I drove down the mountain. I needed to find a place nearby as a transfer station. The place needed to be large. Not too far from the house, away from residential areas, but still able to receive express deliveries, so I locked onto a factory warehouse nearby. It was previously used as a front warehouse for a grocery shopping app. Due to the company's losses, it withdrew from the city, so I just rented it for 80,000 yuan. I directly used the information of the previous company and said that I was also in the grocery shopping app business. The other party didn't ask too many questions. They greeted me warmly and even introduced their experience with front warehouses. For fear that my company would go bankrupt next month and they would lose their profit, our company has just started. In the early stage, we'll just store some vegetables, rice, noodles, oil, and other supplies that can be stored for a long time. We also need daily necessities, just the basic ones. Then we need someone to guard the door and move the goods during the day, after 7 p.m. Someone from our company will come to take inventory. Of course, there are many other things that we need your help with. You have more experience than us, so you can teach us more. You've come to the right person. I still have the contact information of many suppliers. If you need them, I can give them to you. After thanking Boss Lu, I returned to the hotel and started making a supply list. My abilities are limited. I'm just an ordinary 31-year-old woman. I don't have that many survival skills and knowledge, nor do I have an incredible storage space. Sooner or later, the supplies will be used up. Thinking of this, I'm a bit disappointed. It's already such a strange and mysterious thing to have the end of the world and be reborn. Why didn't I get any special abilities? Could it be that only I don't have them? 6. I don't want to think about these useless things anymore. In the future, if I want to live longer, I must understand medical, agricultural, and training knowledge, but now, there's only 1 month left, and there's no time to learn. Fortunately, with the progress of technology, we have the most powerful AI, ChatGPT. In the end of the world, network devices will all be paralyzed, so I need to deploy it locally. I don't understand technology, but I have money. I can pay someone to help me deploy it. I posted on a global technology dating website, and soon someone came to quote me a price. I chose the highest configuration server that an individual buyer could buy, which was convenient for running a larger model in the later stage, costing 300,000 yuan. Then I went to a college student part-time job website and found graduate students from the departments of medicine, agriculture, animal husbandry, and sports to train the AI model for me, input professional knowledge, and correct errors. They would be paid according to the piecework, with an estimated cost of 25,000 yuan. Oh, such an affordable price. I love college students. August 14th, 29 days before the end of the world, I sent the furniture, freezer, building materials, and some repair tools to the decoration foreman and asked him to help me purchase them, costing 70,000 yuan. I contacted suppliers to purchase rice, noodles, canned food, compressed biscuits, barreled water, fruits and vegetables, daily necessities, etc., costing 240,000 yuan. My savings are almost used up, and I started the process of borrowing money. The repayment period for all platforms is almost 30 days, just to be on the safe side. I plan to start borrowing money the day after tomorrow and control it within 27 days. I will need to go out frequently in the future. If I keep wearing a mask all the time, it will attract more attention, so I bought a wig and cosmetics and dressed myself completely differently from usual, to the extent that even facial recognition couldn't identify me. I went out to buy supplies. As I walked on the street, the hustle and bustle of the street came to my ears. This is a road that I have walked for several years. I was always in a hurry to go to work on it, and in my impression, it was just a rough black and white outline. When I looked up, it seemed that there was suddenly color today. Everything became so vivid, with bright sunshine and people coming and going. Children were playing and frolicking, the elderly were playing cards and chess under the shade of the trees, and there were also workers who were working hard. Everyone was living their own lives well and looking forward to the future. However, all of this will end in 29 days. I sighed and turned around to buy an anonymous phone number and a counterfeit mobile phone in the town. I registered an account and sent a letter of complaint on the citizen hotline, informing them of the upcoming end of the world, the characteristics and weaknesses of the zombies, and also briefly described the things that would happen in the next 20 days to increase the credibility of the information. I don't have the sentiment to save the world. I'm just an ordinary person. A relatively lucky ordinary person, in the end of the world, it's already my best effort to survive alone. I don't have the extra ability to save others, however, the country can. Only an organization like the country, with military, medical, and dispatching capabilities, can truly rescue more people, build a new home, and return to a normal society. And the city I live in is a first-tier city whose economic strength ranks among the top 3 in the country. It has more strength to rescue more people in this end of the world. A letter of complaint is generally processed within 5 working days. Finally, I went to several major platforms and, on the pretext that the epidemic was coming again, posted a shopping list for the epidemic to remind the general public to stockpile supplies. If I directly say it's the end of the world, no one will believe it. Even if they believe it, it's easy to cause panic. So I can only use the epidemic to remind the public to stockpile supplies. I've already done everything I can, and I have a clear conscience. After posting the message, I removed the phone card, avoided the cameras, and threw the phone card and the mobile phone into different trash cans on the roadside respectively. After that, I seriously stocked up on supplies. I purchased energy, medicine, emergency supplies, tools, and other items according to the list sorted out by the AI. I only purchased part of the items from each store and first sent them to the transfer station. After the house on the mountain was renovated, I would transport the supplies to the house at night, August 22nd, 21 days before the end of the world. After busily purchasing supplies for 8 days, I always felt that there was a gaze constantly watching me. Just in case, I quickly walked into the busiest mall, hid in a lively women's clothing store, casually picked up a set of clothes, entered the fitting room, threw away the wig, wiped off my makeup with makeup remover wipes, put on the clothes I just got, and immediately went out to pay for them. Then I sat quietly in the coffee shop opposite the women's clothing store and watched the every move of everyone in the clothing store. Suddenly, a man in black clothes stood at the door and looked around for a while, then walked towards the front desk. I took the opportunity to follow him and pretended to look at the clothes beside him. I found that the man took out a photo and asked the salesperson if they had seen the person in the photo. I peeked at it. From the hair and clothes, I could tell that it was a photo of me on the day I bought the phone card. I was being followed and investigated. 7. It seems that someone believed the letter of complaint and sent someone to investigate. But at this time, I don't have the time to cooperate with the investigation, so I bought a new batch of wigs, changed my makeup again, and didn't plan to go back to the previous hotel to stay. From then on, I changed hotels every 3 days and changed a wig. After the house on the mountain was renovated, I started to rest during the day and transport goods at night. 3 days before the end of the world, I finally moved all the goods. After settling the remaining balance, I would euphemistically remind the cooperative personnel such as the decoration team, the warehouse owner, the suppliers, and the college students that there was a high probability that the epidemic would come again and they could stockpile supplies in advance. September 16th, the day when the end of the world arrived, I brought my aunt's family to my community house. My aunt looked at the iron fence in front of the house and asked in shock, "Daisy, what's going on? Why did you suddenly install such a thick iron fence?" "I don't know either. I'll call the property management and ask." I put the phone on speakerphone so that my aunt's family could listen together. I asked the property management what was going on, and the property management said it was the owner who wanted to decorate. Other owners even complained about the illegal construction, saying that it occupied the public area. "We're also having a headache, no matter what we say. The owner won't dismantle it. There has been a big argument in the owner group for more than half a month. I'm the owner of room 1901. I've never said that I want to install it." "Which owner are you talking about? Is it a man or a woman?" "It's a man. He has the house key." "What's his name?" "Oh, yes, it's Blaze." I hung up the phone, directly knocked on the door, and while calling Blaze, I shouted, "Blaze, Blaze, come out quickly. Come out quickly, Blaze." Seeing this, my aunt also joined in knocking on the door. The noise got louder and louder, and then Blaze slowly opened the door and came out. When he saw me, he wanted to hold my hand and said flatteringly, "Daisy, you're back. Why didn't you tell me so that I could pick you up?" I slapped away Blaze's hand, pointed at the iron fence, and asked, "What the hell are you up to? Why did you change my house like this?" "Daisy, listen to me. Today is the end of the world. I changed it like this for our safety. After today, you'll thank me." "I thank you for nothing. This is my house. Why didn't you inform me first? And how do you have the key to my house? Weren't you away for training? You couldn't come back. For the sake of our future, I made the renovations first." "Daisy, don't be angry. I was on training, not dead. Did you call me during that time? This is my house. Give me the key back right now. Also, restore this place to its original state." Upon hearing this, the younger aunt immediately pushed Blaze away and said, Yes, restore it to its original state. Now this house belongs to us. Daisy has already sold it to us. You should move out of our house right away. Looking at the younger aunt's family carrying big and small bags, Blaze said nervously, "What's going on, Daisy? Why did you sell the house? This is my house, and I can sell it whenever I want. I'm your boyfriend. You could have told me about it. You remember now that you're my boyfriend. You secretly kept the key to my house and changed it like this. You didn't contact me for a whole month. What kind of boyfriend are you?" "No, Daisy, what I said before about the end of the world is true, but you didn't believe me, so I had to make the renovations secretly. If you wanted to renovate, you could have done it at your house. Why did you come to mine?" "Daisy, listen to my explanation. Don't say anything. I don't want to know the reason anymore, Daisy. Don't call me Daisy, only my relatives can call me Daisy. Daisy, I'm your boyfriend, not anymore, we're breaking up." Blaze nervously grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go. The younger aunt's family quickly joined in and tried to pull Blaze's hand away. They also wanted to snatch Blaze's key, but Blaze noticed and held onto the key tightly. The scene descended into chaos as a group of people tugged and pulled at each other. Suddenly, there came bursts of screams from downstairs. 8. The end of the world came earlier. We all looked downstairs from the window. In the community garden, there was a person covered in blood and flesh, rushing directly towards the crowd at a high speed and biting anyone he saw, and those who were bitten would fall down. Not long after, they would suddenly get up and also start rushing towards the crowd, biting others frantically. At this moment, ding dong ding dong, all of our mobile phones received a message, an alert message sent by each street. There is currently a malicious wounding incident. There is a risk of person-to-person transmission. The situation is extremely severe and complex. To ensure personal safety, all residents are requested to quarantine at home and do not go out. Do not go out. Before I could finish reading the text message, Blaze had already run back to the room and tried to close the door. But he was stopped by the uncle-in-law and the cousin together. They shouted at the younger aunt's family, "Come in quickly." The younger aunt's family was relatively close to the door and all managed to enter the house smoothly. When I pretended to want to go in, Blaze pushed the uncle-in-law and the other person away and closed the door. "Blaze, open the door quickly." "Younger aunt, uncle-in-law, please open the door." I knocked on the door and shouted. At this moment, Blaze's voice came from inside. I heard him say to the younger aunt, "All the supplies in this house were bought by me. And the reinforced iron door outside was also renovated by me. I should be considered to own half of the house. In this situation, one more person means one less share of supplies. Without her, our supplies can last a few more days. Now the house belongs to you and has nothing to do with her. If you open the door, you can go out and swap with her." "Blaze, you scumbag, open the door quickly." Blaze now had a completely different attitude, with pride and disdain revealed in his words. "Daisy, if you were still my girlfriend, I would let you in, but you just broke up with me, and we have no relationship anymore. The supplies inside were prepared for my girlfriend and have nothing to do with you now." At this moment, the younger aunt's voice came. At first, she sounded a bit guilty, but later she became more confident. "Daisy, what Blaze said may sound harsh, but it's also right. You've already sold the house to us, and we've given you the money. It really has nothing to do with you now." The uncle-in-law also chimed in. "Yeah, Daisy, you'd better go back quickly. It's very dangerous now. You're a girl and should pay attention to your safety outside." Seeing that the younger aunt's family was on his side, Blaze sneered. "Daisy, if you don't leave soon, be careful of attracting zombies. We can't save you, you bastards. You will get your comeuppance." Okay. We will get our comeuppance. Just leave quickly, bye-bye." I kicked the iron door hard and then walked towards the stairs, heading towards the parking lot on the second basement floor. Now the elevator makes a lot of noise, and there are also unknown risks when opening the door. Before coming here, I also left an axe on the first basement floor, which can be used as a weapon. Originally, I wanted to use the younger aunt's family to drive Blaze out. This house and the supplies are always better than their old and shabby place before. It can be regarded as compensation for the younger aunt's family taking over. Unexpectedly, the end of the world came half a day earlier, making Blaze and the younger aunt's family stand on the same front. I can only go back first and make further plans. Since I was reborn, I have been exercising. Coupled with the fact that I have been moving goods some time ago, my physical strength has improved a lot. It's basically not strenuous to go down from the 19th floor. And it's no problem to deal with one or two newly infected zombies. After dealing with the two zombies wandering in the parking area, just as I was about to open the car door, a zombie rushed over silently from behind the car. Its hand almost grabbed my shoulder. Just as I raised the axe to chop down, a gunshot came from a distance. The bullet accurately hit the zombie's head, killing it with one shot. 9. I immediately closed the car door, stepped on the gas pedal to the floor. and drove out of the parking lot directly. At this moment, no matter who that person was, I just ran away. With such accurate marksmanship, that person could definitely survive alone, so there's no need to worry about their safety, and there's no need to think about forming a team either. Since that person has a gun, I will definitely suffer if we form a team. I would just be a big supply package if I joined. The most important thing now is to return to the safe house. After driving out of the community, there was a highway entrance not long after. There is usually not much traffic on this road, and I safely reached the mountain. On the way up the mountain, I accidentally knocked down a few road signs. After returning to the safe house, I immediately electrified the fence and turned on the cameras arranged around it. After everything was properly arranged, I lay on the bed, and my tense nerves gradually began to relax. I calmed down my mood. I needed to be calm, because only by being calm could I think and make the right decisions. Now there are two problems. 1. What should be done about Blaze and the younger aunt's family? I'm not a saint. I won't let those who endangered my life go. But I also can't bring myself to directly kill them. Having always lived in a society ruled by law, I am bound by education, morality, and the law. Even in the end of the world where social order has begun to collapse, I can't just start killing people right away. Living alone in the end of the world, I must always remember that I am human. Moreover, there's no need to risk my life to take their lives. It's not worth it. I'm not someone with extremely powerful combat ability. Surviving is what I need to do at present. Blaze and the younger aunt's family are all selfish people. In the end of the world, such people who are both incompetent and selfish can't cooperate with others and won't be able to survive for a few days. Plus, since they live together, there will definitely be conflicts. What I need to do is to accelerate these conflicts and make them receive the punishment they deserve in advance. 2. Who fired the gunshot in the parking lot? First of all, this person has no ill intentions towards me, but whether they are an enemy or a friend, I need to be on guard. There's also no need to cooperate. I can survive alone now. Adding another unknown person will increase the pressure on supplies. Since I can't figure out who it is, I'll put it aside and not deal with it for now, although I paid attention to whether there was anyone following me on the way back. I still need to pay more attention to the surrounding situation during this period and be more vigilant. Now the internet is in chaos, filled with bloody zombie videos everywhere. If it were before, these would have been harmoniously dealt with long ago. Seeing that the situation couldn't be controlled, the official directly lifted the supervision and made the information public. They even encouraged netizens to actively share information about the end of the world and skills to deal with zombies. This is actually a more open way of management and a more active response compared to before. In my previous life, the official was still always trying to harmonize the videos and warning netizens not to believe or spread rumors. After a week, when they found that they really couldn't control the situation, they just gave up. In the second week, the internet paralyzed. And it was basically impossible to access the internet. Thanks to the open management, the stockpiling post I posted before was once again at the top of the hot search. There were a lot of replies. At first, they were all mocking me for being overly worried. Later, some people started to stockpile goods, and now, they are all expressions of gratitude. Being overly worried again, even if there is a big disaster, there won't be a shortage of food, everyone can rest assured. Will it really break out? Are you bored upstairs? We haven't been at peace for long. There's nothing impossible. I also saw a blogger saying that a big disaster will happen, and I've already started preparing. Yeah, there has been a severe drought this year, and there has been heavy rain in the south. Then I'll stockpile some first. My God, this isn't an epidemic, it's zombies. Damn, the zombies downstairs scared me to death. Fortunately, I stocked up on some food first. Thank you, blogger. I listened to what the blogger said and went to stockpile goods. Now that I have food at home, I feel much more at ease. Damn it, I didn't stockpile anything. You can search for where there is still food. Many bloggers have already posted strategies. After closing the post, I started to take stock of my supplies. Looking at the supplies in the whole building, I felt much more at ease immediately. These supplies can ensure that I have enough food and clothing for a year or two. I won't go out to find supplies unless it's absolutely necessary. It's too dangerous to go out now. Going out may mean becoming a member of the zombie horde at any time. Plus, after 2 years, there will basically be no usable supplies outside. The remaining ones are not necessities. In the end of the world, the road to rebuilding our homes is inevitable, and food is of utmost importance. I can start considering sustainable production and labor now, such as growing vegetables and raising chickens. 10. I turned on the computer, connected to the local network, and ran ChatGPT deployed locally. I named it Kiri. For the next 3 days, under the guidance of Kiri, I learned how to grow vegetables and hatch eggs. During the stockpiling period, according to Kiri's suggestions, I prepared seeds, fertilized eggs, an incubator, and planting boxes. The vegetable growing area is on the rooftop. I first made a small-scale attempt with wheat, rice, soybeans, green peppers, lettuce, etc. The chickens are first placed in the bedroom on the 5th floor, there is sound insulation, and at the same time, an air circulation system is configured, which is excellent at deodorizing and controlling the temperature. To be honest, the chickens live better now than I did before the end of the world. Kiri is not only an encyclopedia but also can help me keep an eye on the surveillance. If there is any abnormality, it will directly remind me. Looking out the window, the sunlight is shining on the leaves. Sometimes there is a breeze blowing the leaves. If I don't look at the zombie information on the internet, I have the illusion that I'm actually on vacation. This may be the idyllic retirement life that everyone dreamed of before. The place chosen by my father really has a beautiful scenery. Since my parents passed away, I haven't come to this place to take a look. Now I'm back, and I will definitely live well. On the 4th day of the end of the world, seeing the reminder from Kiri, I found that Blaze had sneaked out last night. It's time to deal with Blaze and the others. I have been paying attention to their information all the time. From the surveillance, I saw that Blaze and the younger aunt's family had already had a conflict on the first day. The main reason was the uneven distribution of supplies. Blaze wanted to divide the supplies equally between the two families, while the younger aunt's family wanted to divide them according to the number of people. The result was that Blaze was beaten into submission. If he caused trouble again, he might be thrown out of the house by the younger aunt's family. There are 5 people in the younger aunt's family: the younger aunt, the uncle-in-law, the cousin, the sister-in-law, and the cousin's sister. 2 men and 3 women. Blaze is just a weak and gentle boy. He may be able to deal with 1 girl, but he has no advantage against 5 people. Moreover, Blaze has no emotional foundation with the younger aunt's family. He just instigated the younger aunt's family to lock me out of the door because he was angry that I said we should break up. Blaze should have realized by now that the younger aunt's family is of the same kind as him. The end of the world has just begun, and everyone is still bound by ethics and morality. They are willing to divide the supplies according to the number of people now. But what about later, when the supplies become fewer and fewer? For the younger aunt's family, he is just an outsider with no relatives, but he is occupying precious supplies. The original 4-bedroom, 2-living-room house had 3 rooms emptied by Blaze and filled with supplies. The living room was also piled up with supplies. Only 1 bedroom was occupied by the younger aunt's family, and Blaze could only sleep on the sofa in the living room, so he took action. In his previous life, he showed off his supplies in the group, which led to them being robbed. In this life, he secretly contacted a neighbor downstairs, a big brother who was engaged in decoration and had decoration equipment. Blaze offered to divide the supplies equally with him as a condition, hoping to subdue the younger aunt's family together and throw them out of the house, leaving them to fend for themselves. Before this, Blaze secretly made a backup of the bedroom key from the very beginning. He is really good at hiding keys. On the night of the 4th day of the end of the world, Kiri issued an alarm. From the surveillance, I saw Blaze carefully open the door to let the big brother in. When Blaze opened the bedroom door and the 2 were about to take action, I pressed the alarm bell of the surveillance. A sharp and ear-piercing alarm sound immediately rang out. The younger aunt's family woke up from their sleep and saw Blaze and the strange men raising their axes. At this moment, without any hesitation, Blaze directly snatched the weapon from the big brother and smashed it towards the uncle-in-law's head. Blaze, what are you doing? After dealing with the uncle-in-law, Blaze basically had the upper hand. Just as he was about to deal with the cousin, suddenly, the lights in the living room came on. 11. A strange man appeared in the living room. Seeing Blaze and the others fighting, he only froze for a moment and then turned to look at the supplies. He picked up the nearest box of instant noodles and ran out. Then more and more people poured into the living room and started snatching the supplies. Blaze and the others didn't care about fighting anymore and began to drive the strangers away together. This was the real chaos. Don't take it. This is ours. Put it down quickly. Go away. Don't move. Put it down. Don't take our things. When I pressed the alarm, I sent the photos of the supplies in the house and the address together to the WeChat group of the community. Many people in the group have been desperately seeking supplies these days, and those without supplies are constantly paying attention to the messages in the WeChat group. Those who lived nearby came upstairs with the attitude of giving it a last try. When they turned on the lights, they saw that the whole room was filled with supplies, and they directly picked up a box of instant noodles and left. What's going on here? Are there supplies? Can we take them for free? Is this for real? Don't deceive us. Where did you get these photos? I'm also from Building B. I'll go and have a look. Me too. I'll go and check it out. It's true. You can go to room 1901 in Building B. The whole room is full of food. I'll take a box first and come back for more later. When the people behind saw that there were really supplies, they got excited and rushed over in a swarm. The news spread faster and faster, and even people from the adjacent building were willing to risk their lives to come over and get a share. This chaotic scramble for supplies lasted until dawn, and almost all the supplies were looted. Even the big brother, who was called by Blaze as an accomplice, took the opportunity to carry away several boxes of supplies when he saw the situation. Only Blaze was left to face the younger aunt's family. The cousin saw the mess all over the floor, grabbed Blaze by the collar, and punched him in the face. "It's all your fault, you idiot. These supplies were all mine originally. Why should I share them with you?" Blaze's eyes were red, and he fought back unyieldingly. The two of them tussled with each other. The cousin's sister and the sister-in-law helped the cousin on the side, while the younger aunt, looking at the uncle-in-law, who was almost out of breath, was heartbroken and burst into tears. No one in the room noticed the ding sound in the corridor on the 19th floor, and the elevator door opened, because people from the adjacent building also came to grab supplies. The noise in the whole building was so loud that the zombies heard the sound and surrounded the building. Someone was still using the elevator. As soon as they pressed the button for the 19th floor, a group of zombies outside the elevator door pounced on them. There were bursts of howls coming from inside the elevator door as it slowly ascended to the 19th floor. When they realized that something was wrong, the zombies had already entered the living room. The cousin immediately shouted for his family to hide in the bedroom, leaving Blaze outside alone. Seeing 5 or 6 zombies approaching, Blaze shrank back in fear. Suddenly, he touched the axe left by the big brother. He raised the axe and waved it randomly at the zombies. As the zombies were getting closer step by step, the overwhelming fear made Blaze collapse. He suddenly laughed loudly and shouted, "Die, die, all of you die, haha." Blaze used all his strength to chop at the bedroom door. Once, twice, his movements became faster and faster. Every swing of the axe revealed madness, and his face gradually twisted and became more and more ferocious. He completely ignored the bites of the zombies and smashed open the bedroom door before losing consciousness. Looking at the 4 people hiding in the corner of the bedroom, Blaze smiled and said, "Let's die together." As soon as Blaze finished speaking, he fell down, and there were desperate and shrill screams coming from the bedroom. I turned off the surveillance, and I couldn't calm down for a long time. At the last moment, Blaze revealed his selfish nature completely. 12. The days of the end of the world passed day by day. 2 rather strange things were that, in my previous life, the internet actually collapsed completely in the second week, but in this life, it lasted for a month. In the first month, the official released a series of manuals on the internet, teaching residents how to reinforce their houses and how to deal with zombies. They also provided a supplies map to make it convenient for residents to search for supplies. The situation of water and electricity was also different. In my previous life, the water and electricity were cut off on the 30th day of the end of the world. Now it's already the 60th day, and only the electricity has been cut off, while the water supply is still there. Since it didn't have much impact on me actually, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I was busy exercising, growing vegetables, raising chickens, and counting supplies every day. It turned out that growing vegetables wasn't something that could be successful casually. The rice planting failed twice, but the others were growing quite healthily. It's just that the radishes were prone to having vegetable worms. Looking at the chubby vegetable worms, I wondered if they could also be considered high-quality protein, but with sufficient supplies, I mercilessly stepped on and killed this high-quality protein. As for the chickens, the hatching success rate was only 30%. But why were they all roosters? They were smelly and noisy. Now I've asked Kiri to teach me how to castrate roosters. When I was about to practice castrating a little rooster, Kiri reminded me that a stranger was approaching my house. I quickly took the mechanical crossbow, ran to the roof, aimed at the gate, and waited for the stranger to get closer. After a while, a thin man slowly approached. However, he was very and found that I was on the roof. He immediately found a shelter and hid out of my shooting range. Moreover, he also found the surveillance camera I had hidden in the corner and directly tried to talk to me through the surveillance. "My name is Beckett, I'm a police officer, and my police number is 927-364. You are Daisy, 31 years old. Your parents died in a car accident 6 years ago. You suddenly resigned from your job on August 13th, and the next day you submitted a report letter on the Citizen Hotline website, in which you informed in advance that there would be zombies on September 16th. Beckett's voice sounded weak, and he seemed to have not had enough to eat for a long time. Seeing that I didn't respond, he continued, "On August 21st, I received an order from my superior to investigate this matter with you. At first, we could only find you through the Sky Eye system. You have anti-reconnaissance awareness and always changed your appearance. We worked overtime for a week and only confirmed your true identity on September 16th. On September 16th, we met in the parking lot of the Houting community, and then the zombie outbreak occurred. I'm not here to ask for your assistance in the investigation now, so it was him who fired the shot in the parking lot, even though he had helped me. I didn't put down my weapon and asked, "Then what do you want?" "I want to ask you for some food." I took some compressed biscuits, energy bars, an apple, and 2 bottles of water and threw them outside the door. "Thanks, I'll eat them first." After saying that, Beckett immediately wolfed down the food. He almost choked and quickly drank some water to ease it. After he finished eating, he continued, "Before we confirmed your true identity, we noticed that you had been purchasing a large amount of food and daily necessities. At the same time, you predicted a lot of future events, which were too strange. So we established a special action team, and I was responsible for finding you. Other colleagues were monitoring whether there were people across the country with abnormal behaviors like yours. We found that there were 463 people across the country who suddenly resigned from their jobs, dropped out of school, disappeared, and at the same time purchased a large amount of supplies. And you were the only one who contacted the government and also posted a stockpiling post on the internet. We thought that you would be more cooperative and more willing to assist us in the investigation." "No, that's not true. Don't talk nonsense. Finding you was my most important task, so I couldn't let you slip away. At the parking lot, you left too quickly. I only chased you to the small town at the foot of the mountain and then lost track of you. Then I had to avoid the zombies, look for food, and find you, which took me 2 months. Today, I finally found you. So you still want me to go back with you and cooperate with the investigation?" "No, you're not a professional. It's too dangerous to go out. I don't have the energy to protect you now either." "Then what exactly do you want from me?" Beckett suddenly looked a bit embarrassed and said, "I want to borrow some supplies from you. I need to go back to the city to contact my teammates, and then we will come back here to find you." 13. Come back to find me again. Yes. This location of yours is good, it's safe, and there are few zombies. It's suitable for us to work and rebuild. We also need your help so that we can know more about the zombies and rebuild our homes. Why do you think I'll help you? Because you've already helped us. Speaking of which, on behalf of all the public servants in Lizho City, I would like to express my gratitude to you. Thank you, Comrade Daisy, thanks to your advance notice. We had nearly a month to deal with this zombie apocalypse. Because of your reminder, basic facilities such as water, electricity, supplies, and the internet have been protected to a certain extent, which has provided great help for us to rebuild our homes. It's not just Lizho City, but also the whole country and even the whole world. Thanks to your reminder, a lot of losses have been reduced, and more lives have been saved because of you. So, the situation of the internet, water, and electricity is different from that in my previous life, but I didn't do this just to get their gratitude, so I interrupted him and said, "Stop flattering me. I'm not interested in being a savior. I just sent a report letter casually. It's up to you whether you believe it or not, but you did give us a reminder. You chose the best way to save more people. Stop talking about these empty words, okay? We will always keep our gratitude for you in our hearts when we rebuild our homes. I will suggest erecting a monument to your deeds and placing it in the memorial hall. That is, we still need your help one more time. Give me a car, weapons, and food. I need to go to the city. I will return these supplies to you double in the future. I know you have supplies, so in the past 2 months, you have been my greatest hope." Looking at Beckett, who is younger than me and looking at me with anticipation, I felt a bit uncomfortable. I'm really not good at dealing with such straightforward people, so I gave him the key to the van, several watermelon knives, an axe, and some food. Seeing him looking at the watermelon knives with confusion, I explained, "You should have already noticed that the weakness of the zombies is their heads. The virus has damaged people's brains, but the brains are still needed to control the body, so chopping off their heads is the fastest way. I couldn't buy a gun, and the watermelon knives are the most convenient. One chop, one head. These knives are all thickened and sharpened. I hid in the house that Blaze had reinforced, which could be considered a safe house in the apocalypse. Since it was Blaze who built the safe house and he also bought the supplies, I could only follow all of Blaze's arrangements. After that, I did all the housework, and Blaze bossed me around like a landlord who had turned over a new leaf. Our original couple relationship seemed to have turned into a master-servant relationship. I really don't want to hear these words of gratitude anymore. I'm so embarrassed that my toes are all tensed up. I could only urge Beckett to leave quickly. Watching him leave and thinking about the information he brought, I felt a glimmer of hope that my future life would return to normal. After that, I continued to live my plain and solitary idyllic life. I became more and more proficient in castrating roosters. All the roosters at home have suffered from my hands, and they peck at me whenever they see me. 10 days later, Becca came back with a group of people and set up temporary tents nearby. I also cooperated with their investigation and told them all the information I knew truthfully regarding the information about the zombies. Actually, with the experience of both my previous life and this life, it's only 4 months worth now. More than 2 months have passed, and the government has already known more information than I do. I just had a head start. Regarding my rebirth, it's also too strange. Now the focus is on dealing with the zombies and rebuilding our homes. There is temporarily no extra manpower to study it, so it was recorded on file and I was allowed to go back. As for the supplies, naturally, the supplies I stockpiled are not as much as those of the government. So there was no situation where I was required to hand them over. Sometimes I still need to exchange for the supplies I need with them. The greatest help I gave them in the end was Kiri. Kiri became their little assistant, and finally, I became a public servant with the help of Kiri and got a job supported by the state. Originally, I had planned to live alone in the apocalypse, but after all, people are social animals. One can live alone, but they still need to establish connections and communicate with others and cannot be isolated from the outside world for a long time, so I didn't object to them establishing the first safe zone here. I would occasionally participate in the construction work and help the residents castrate roosters from time to time. 3 months later, the first safe zone in the whole country was officially established. It was only many years later that I learned that they really erected a monument for me. Story 2, Grace. You can't just stand by and do nothing. The end of the world had come, and there was my husband, with his mistress, begging me to open the door. I looked at them coldly. Just the day before, I was devastated. No, there were 3 layers of doors between us. All I had to do was open the door, and they would be saved. But I was thinking, should I just stand here and watch them being devoured alive? Or should I go back inside and listen to them being devoured alive? 1. The apocalypse happened a month ago, and 3 days prior to its start, I had already transformed my grandmother's house, located at the urban-rural interface and with its own yard, into a fortress for the end times. It wasn't that I had foreseen it, nor did I receive any advance warnings. It was because I had been reborn 2 months ago, holding the freshly issued divorce papers and wiping away tears. I boarded a high-speed train back to my hometown. I never thought my husband, Carter, would betray me. Carter and I were college classmates, the golden boy and girl of our class, and we were the only couple from our class who ended up getting married. After getting married, I gave up a career as a judge, for which I had passed the exams, to follow him to Beijing and become an elementary school teacher, supporting his career. But even with all these sacrifices, Carter still betrayed me. His mistress sent me a video through Carter's Instagram. And it wasn't the type of exercise one might assume from the word alone. Watching that woman under Carter, cheerfully moaning, felt like the sky was falling down. I was so angry I smashed my phone. The next day, after buying a new one, I sent Carter the divorce papers. After the 1-month cooling-off period required for divorce had passed, I swiftly headed to Beijing to officially get the divorce papers with Carter. However, on the train ride back to my hometown, the apocalypse erupted. I died on that train, but luckily, I was reborn a month earlier. The second time I received that video, I didn't smash my phone. Instead, I calmed down for 5 minutes and then sent Carter the divorce papers. Then I told him to give me $3 million in cash, to sever all ties, and that I wouldn't ask for a single penny more after that. Carter and I had 2 properties in Beijing, one worth about $3 million and the other about $5 million. I had just finished paying off the last installment of $500,000 on the more expensive property. During our first divorce, out of guilt, Carter had given me the property worth $5 million, keeping the one worth $3 million for himself. This time, I only wanted $3 million in cash, to turn my grandmother's house into a fortress for the end times. My grandmother's house was situated at the urban-rural interface and had a yard of over an acre with a 3-story detached house. I designed 3 layers of protection for the fortress. The first layer was made of stainless steel. I used a giant octagonal cage to enclose the entire yard and the house. The second layer consisted of bulletproof glass, 35 millimeters thick, installed in 3 layers. This layer wasn't just to keep out zombies, but also people, as I feared that armories might be overtaken during the apocalypse. The third layer was the original wall around my grandmother's house. Since it was a self-built house, the walls were very thick, and I installed bulletproof glass in the decorative windows. Finally, the walls of the house itself, originally built with high alkaline resistance blue bricks, were already quite thick, so I reinforced them. When I've reinforced only the doors and windows at home, I replaced all the exterior doors with 12-centimeter thick heavy copper doors and switched all the windows to bulletproof glass, which I covered with one-way viewing film and added a layer of anti-theft netting outside. After setting up the outer defenses, the next task was to remodel the courtyard. To maximize the use of the courtyard even if the first 3 layers of protection were breached, I divided my grandmother's small courtyard into 4 sections according to the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Each section was separated by railings as high as walls with an added layer of steel mesh. In the center, I built a corridor that provided access to these 4 sections. There were doors between the corridor and each section, and additional doors along the corridor itself, ensuring that if one section was compromised, the others could still be used. After remodeling the courtyard, I stocked a small pond in the northeast corner of my grandmother's house with fish and bought several servings of fish feed. By the end of all these modifications, I had almost run out of money, actually. After Carter agreed to the divorce settlement, he only transferred 6 million yuan. He mentioned that he didn't have that much cash on hand and had to sell some stocks to come up with the 6 million yuan. He also said he would give me the rest next year. At that time, I just smiled, hoping he would still be alive to pay me next year. All the initial expenses totaled 4 million yuan. When I was left with 200,000 yuan, planning to budget and stock up on supplies, I quickly realized it was far from enough. Just when I was most worried about money, my grandparents gave me their retirement savings of 600,000 yuan. Originally, I built the fortress to ensure smooth progress and to get my grandparents on board with the plan. I told them I was divorced and planning to start my own business by turning their home into a unique bar, which would be our source of livelihood. Although my grandfather was skeptical about the success of my plan, he supported me fully. Later, seeing how worried I was about money, he gave me all the retirement money he and my grandmother had saved over the years, calling it an investment. With this 600,000 yuan, I installed solar panels on the entire roof. In a post-apocalyptic world without electricity, we would have to rely solely on these solar panels. I also bought a generator and stocked up on some diesel. But those were only for special circumstances, as the noise from the engine could attract zombies. After installing the solar panels, I started stocking up on supplies with the remaining money. I stored rooms full of flour and rice, instant noodles and self-heating hot pot meals, various kinds of smoked and dried meats, and another room half filled with various seeds and the other half with dried bamboo shoots, kelp, and pickled vegetables, since these items needed to be stored indoors. I didn't calculate by unit but by the space available at home to store these supplies. I also had shelves installed in advance in these rooms for easy access. After stocking up, the money was quickly spent, but there was still much more to buy, so in the end, I brashly took out a loan of 400,000 yuan, thinking that in an apocalypse, money would surely not need to be repaid. Being reborn also felt like catching the last straw of society. But what I never expected was that half a month into the apocalypse, I still received a message demanding payment. Really, the apocalypse might come. But the demands for payment never stop. However, I haven't paid back that money yet. With the 400,000 I got from the loan, I stocked up on supplies like cooking oil, charcoal, natural gas, and more, filling up an entire room. The remaining money was used to stockpile everyday essentials, cold weather clothing, bedding, and so on. At the very end, I also gathered some books and snacks for my daughter. With this patchwork sum of over 6 million, I created a fortress for the apocalypse. In this fortress, there's a house, farmland, a mountain spring, and even a small pond. Grandpa is somewhat of a farmer. He has been farming since his retirement, and it's been 20 years now. In this apocalypse, I can still live a life somewhat reminiscent of a rural idyll. Over this month since the apocalypse started, that's exactly how we've been getting by. Every day, I check on the fish in the pond, do some farming. Though the end of days is terrifying, the days pass by quickly, now. The hollow vegetables Grandpa planted on the day the apocalypse arrived are almost ready for their first harvest. The rice he planted on that small plot of land has grown over a foot tall, and the fish fry released into the pond have fattened up. The grapefruits on the tree in the northeast corner will be ready to eat in just over a month. But what I never expected was for my ex-husband to show up, and with his mistress no less. My ex-husband shouldn't even be in my hometown. He's supposed to be in Beijing. I came because it's summer vacation. Every summer, I bring my daughter back to my hometown to stay with my grandparents. When I received the small video, I was at their house. After finalizing our divorce, summer wasn't over yet, and with my daughter still here, it was natural for me to return. However, this isn't Carter's hometown, nor where he works or went to university, in the city. The only connection he has is with me. But I don't believe he would bring his mistress here to chase after me, so my first question was, "What are you doing here?" Carter seemed taken aback for a moment and glanced at his mistress. I too looked at his mistress. This was the first time I saw her in person, though I'd seen her before in a small video. She looked innocent and sweet in her clothes, like a harmless beauty. Now, amidst the apocalypse and pregnant, She still looked frail and delicate. Unlike me, I've gained 5 pounds even with the world ending. I remember her name seemed to be Chloe, a nice name, and she looked like a decent person, but her actions didn't match up. Silent, my ex-husband struggled to find his words. Then Chloe spoke up. Sister, didn't you and Carter agree to get the divorce certificate on July 25th? But Carter called you on July 24th, and after trying all day, couldn't reach you. He had called Grandma before, who mentioned you were acting unusually. Working on building a bar, worried, I scoffed. You call me sister and refer to my grandma as yours, miss, even though it's the apocalypse. We can't just randomly claim relatives. I did have a sister once, but she died nearly 30 years ago, never even made it out of our mother's womb. By now, the grass over her grave is probably taller than you. Besides her, I have no other sisters, so watch how you address people. Chloe seemed to suddenly realize her mistake. Looked up at me and then at Carter, and nervously bowed her head. She leaned closer to Carter, who embraced her and gave me a reproachful look. I'm all too familiar with that expression on Carter's face. It's the one he gets whenever something he cherishes is damaged or disrespected by me. Now, the person in his arms, he treasures them greatly. I rolled my eyes at the sky. This pair of deceitful lovers, clearly, they came after me because I didn't answer their calls. Worried that I wouldn't go through with the divorce, chasing me down to my hometown to pressure me into it. After all, both parties can obtain a divorce certificate from their registered residence, and yet, such a shameless excuse turns into a noble concern when it comes out of their mouths. It's almost laughable, watching Chloe almost trying to merge her entire body into Carter's embrace. I suddenly have a newfound admiration for her ability. Such a shameless excuse, and yet she speaks it with such delicate, gentle words. I could never talk like that. No wonder Carter has already moved on to creating the next generation with her. I can't be bothered to argue with them anymore. Seeing the doors still between us, I grabbed my grandmother's hand and turned to walk back into the house. My yard has 3 doors for security reasons. The outermost door is secured with an automatic lock, the second with a traditional key lock, and the third with a keypad lock. They've only gotten through the first door. This door protects them from zombies, but they haven't really entered our yard yet. The first door is only half a door away from the second. Now, the zombies, drawn by the scent of blood, have arrived. If they don't stay close to the second door, which is bulletproof, the zombies can reach them easily. Grace, can you please open the door? Chloe hasn't eaten in 2 days, Carter said urgently when he saw me turning around. His tone was soft. He was pleading with me. He's always been able to bend when necessary. What's that got to do with me? I turned around, looking at Carter seriously. More and more zombies gathered outside the yard. I had installed a stainless steel mesh that was not very large. But zombies, not feeling pain, become frenzied when they smell blood. Carter had a wound on his hand, but it didn't look like a bite. No, the zombies continuously gnawed at my stainless steel mesh. Some, disregarding the mesh, had their flesh scraped off to the bone by the mesh but still tried to reach through to grab the 2 people. Seeing the bare bones, Chloe, terrified, suddenly threw herself into Carter's arms, calling him brother. She called Carter brother, a term I used to use too. I realized it was not exclusive to me. Carter used to tell me that it was a nickname only I could use. What a deceitful man. It's also the first time I've seen so many zombies. Although the apocalypse has been going on for over a month, there aren't many people in the suburbs, so there are naturally fewer zombies. This fortress has triple protection, but we usually stay inside the house, trying not to make noise, afraid of attracting zombies. Seeing so many zombies also made me a bit panicked, and I pulled my grandmother back a few steps, thinking I was about to leave. Carter quickly spoke up. Grace, I'm sorry for what I did, but you wouldn't just stand by and watch us die, right? I didn't step back this time. What a typical scoundrel's line, using moral blackmail. I'm almost amused by it. I glanced at Chloe, who was almost collapsing into Carter's arms, and said, You are not me. How would you know what I can or can't do? I can, Carter. I thought you would understand that the most I owe you right now is to leave this first door open, not to watch you die. After saying that, I turned around and walked away. Grace, Carter yelled in fury, pounding on my bulletproof glass wall. Grace, you can't be so cruel. I stopped in my tracks. Did he really not know how cruel I could be? How many zombies would his banging attract? I paused, then turned around and spoke slowly, emphasizing each word. Carter, since you've already called me cruel, I might as well live up to the name, right? In these apocalyptic times, let's forget about humanity. How about you make a choice, throw her out, and I'll let you in, or do you both want to leave? Carter was stunned, not expecting such a question. Chloe beside him was also taken aback. Then she turned to Carter, her eyes filled with pitiful pleading. Carter looked at me again, his eyes nearly shooting flames. Hey, what are you saying, girl? My grandmother suddenly patted my hand, went out, and opened the second door. Once they entered through the second door, Carter and Chloe were in the yard, but they couldn't get into our house. I was completely baffled and looked at my grandmother. The first door had been opened by my grandmother, but at that time, she thought it was the apocalypse, and Carter, worried about his daughter, had struggled all the way from Beijing to find Ella, although I couldn't believe that Carter and Chloe, who was pregnant, had traveled 10,000 miles from Beijing to my hometown during the apocalypse. I still held a slight hope that this father cared about his child. Turns out, he didn't. They had come chasing after me for a divorce. Moreover, due to this, they had luckily lingered here for a month. Just thinking about it was annoying. I had already placed my hand on the electric switch of the first door. Regardless of Carter's choice, I was ready to accommodate him, of course. If he really chose to abandon his lover and come in, I would still throw him out, because that would only prove he was scum to the core, and he would abandon anyone in this courtyard under similar circumstances in the future. But my grandmother didn't let him make that choice. After letting Carter and Chloe in, she pulled me into the house. I shook off my grandmother's hand on the way and went into the house by myself. I really couldn't understand why my grandmother suddenly became so saintly at that moment, especially since on the 10th day of the zombie outbreak, a neighbor who lived not far from our house and had been friends with my grandmother for decades, came running for help. My grandmother watched from inside as she was surrounded by zombies, remembering my rule that saints in the apocalypse must die, and she resolutely refrained from opening the door. Watching her old friend get bitten without intervening, I also didn't understand why. The first time I got angry about a sports video and smashed my phone, it was my grandmother who helped me pick up the pieces. When I cried alone in the room, it was my grandmother who hugged me all afternoon. The second time, although I didn't smash my phone, I threw myself into designing and fortifying the fortress, but still, my grandmother would often check on me at night, fearing I might be crying secretly. She knew I was heartbroken. "Are you angry?" my grandmother asked, bringing over a cup of tea. I pushed the tea away without saying a word. Seeing that I didn't speak, my grandmother sat next to me, took my hand into hers, and asked, "Girl, do you think the chaos outside will end soon?" "I don't know," I replied curtly. My grandmother sighed. "You don't know, and Grandma doesn't know either. You've enclosed this place, shielded it inside and out, prepared so much food and supplies, and even learned gardening with your grandpa. Girl, you think it won't get better, right?" I was taken aback. Actually, since being reborn, I had never really considered this question. I was constantly in a state of high alert and never had the time to think about it. Grandma and Grandpa are old, and my daughter is only 5. Our family, in truth, is full of the old, weak, and sick. We have no advantages in this post-apocalyptic world. All I could rely on was this fortress, believing it to be infallible. I hope that this apocalypse, like every epidemic we have faced, will eventually end. I also hope that one morning, I'll wake up to news on the TV or on a phone announcing that the lockdown is lifted and the zombies have been eradicated. But now, it's been over a month since the apocalypse began. For the first 10 days, we still receive news and text messages telling people not to panic and to hide. Then, they started using phones to count the number of survivors nearby. Later, we lost water, electricity, and internet. After that, we began to see more and more zombies roaming around, with hardly any living people left. We used to be able to shout to our neighbors, but these days, the only heads popping out of the windows are zombies. Now, a whole month has passed, and we've stopped receiving any information from outside. I don't even know if our home is the last island of survival in this city, but apart from our family, there really are no other living people around. Seeing the look on my face, Grandma patted my hand. "Girl, you think it won't get better, right?" Grandma thinks so too. "Girl, do you know, Grandma is 78 this year." That day, when I first saw your aunt turn into that horrific thing right in front of me, Grandma suddenly understood the term apocalypse you used. It felt like the sky had fallen. Grandma finally understood why you wanted to build such a strong cage. You wanted to protect us, protect our whole family. But Grandma is old. She squeezed my hand, which she held in hers, a gesture she made whenever she felt particularly sympathetic. "I know, you want Grandma to live to be 100 years old, and Grandma wants that too. Grandma wants to be with you all the time, to grow old with you, to see Ella grow up, but it's not possible. It just isn't. Grandma will eventually pass away." Grandma smiled a little. "Your grandpa and I are already halfway into the grave. We won't be able to be with you for long." "Grandma, Ella can be with you." Grandma smiled again. "But have you ever thought about what will happen to Ella after you grow old and pass away? This isn't just a temporary quarantine that ends in a few days. where you can still get updates about the outside world through a phone. She might have to stay here forever, alone, waking up every day without any news from the outside, waking up to this terrifying world every day. Girl, if it were you, how long could you last? I took a deep breath, a wave of despair washing over me. If it were just me alone, I have personally seen off each of my loved ones, and now, I live in this world of despair, devoid of family and any external information. The moment I open my eyes, monsters surround me, and I can't even scream because screaming would attract them. This is the world my daughter will face after we are all gone. I take a deep breath. Grandma pats my hand again and speaks with deep meaning. That girl has a child, right? Grandma looks at me. She has a little one, and that baby belongs to Ella's generation. It would be best if that baby could support Ella, even if they can't support each other. It's good for Ella to have someone alive to talk to. What do you think? Besides, it's an extra precaution. Carter can drive. If our house ever breaks down, having someone who can drive to take you all away would be essential. While I don't expect Carter to help me, and I really dislike both Carter and Chloe, Grandma is right. That child, I must leave as a backup plan for Ella. There, my dear. Grandma comes over and hugs my shoulders. Grandma didn't open the door right away. I was waiting to let you vent. Have you vented yet? If you've vented, there's no need to hold on to that anger. Getting angry only hurts yourself, not others. Hearing Grandma's words makes me feel a bit emotional. She allowed me to vent and thought of even the smallest kindness, and beyond that, she's thinking about what happens after she's gone. Everything she's planned is for me and Ella. I nod, embracing Grandma, my voice a bit hoarse. Grandma also hugs me and rocks me a bit, just like when I would fidget in her arms as a child. Okay, darling, the innermost door hasn't been opened yet. We still need to take time to understand people's hearts. For now, arrange for them to stay in the treehouse, give them that favor, and take it slow. There's still plenty of time. I nod, take a deep breath, and walk outside. Outside, Carter is still standing at the entrance, guarding Chloe. I'm a bit surprised. I thought someone as flexible and tactful as Carter would have already taken Chloe to the treehouse, especially since Grandma had gestured towards it just before. In the northeast corner of our yard stands a large camphor tree. Initially, when I was remodeling the yard, I planned to cut it down because it would prevent the cage from fully enclosing the area, affecting the integrity of the cage. But Grandma said this tree was planted by her father, and it's been around for over 100 years. She couldn't bear to cut it down. In the end, I had no choice but to spend extra money to build a treehouse in it, and the cage was made separately, essentially creating a higher little cage just around the treehouse. After the treehouse was built, it became another refuge for us. If something unexpected happens to the house one day, the treehouse could offer us a place to hide. So, I also made some cabinets in the treehouse and stored some things there, just in case. But I didn't expect them to move in first. I point towards the treehouse. You guys stay in there. Carter glances at me, then at Chloe, who seems weak in his arms. Chloe, you have food. I leave without turning back. Really, some people just push their luck. I return to the house, where my daughter has just woken up from her nap. My daughter is now 5.5 years old, despite her innocent confusion, having lived through a catastrophic collapse of the world as we knew it overnight. She's matured a lot more than before. I've explained divorce to her, telling her about why mommy and daddy are living apart, and she hasn't asked about it since. But now, her father has returned with a woman, and honestly, I just don't know how to explain the situation. Men and women can bring such drama. I sighed deeply a few times. Seeing I was upset, Grandma took my daughter to practice her reading. During these apocalyptic times, I've insisted on teaching my daughter to read. I hope that one day she'll be able to read books on her own. I've bought some on agricultural techniques, hoping that if one day there's no one else to guide her, she'll still be able to sustain herself through farming. Another reason is that, although I don't believe this apocalypse will end, I still hope for a better world someday. I want my daughter to be able to read and engage with the world when it eventually gets better. However, besides learning to read, another immediate priority is surviving. To survive, one must learn to farm, but for now, that's a lesson for me, not her. It was past 4 in the afternoon, with the sun inclining westward, as I followed Grandpa into the yard to farm because it wasn't dark yet and the zombies weren't as sensitive as they are at night. Also, it was cooler, perfect for finishing work before dinner. Currently, we still have ample supplies at home, so we primarily grow vegetables instead of staple crops. This time, Grandpa taught me to plant cabbages and chili peppers. As we planted, Grandpa explained that there are many types of cabbages: spring, summer, and autumn cabbages, and each type should be planted in its respective season, with each requiring different seeds. I listened intently, having never realized before how much knowledge was involved in farming. Grandpa shared that he felt a sense of achievement in helping build the country in his earlier years and now finds a similar feeling in dedicating his energy to farming. He expressed that the greatest sense of achievement for him comes from planting the seeds, watching the seedlings grow, watering, and fertilizing them. Observing the daily changes in the crops, he said, is like nurturing a person, and the joy of harvest brings even greater happiness. Laughing, I said I also enjoyed these feelings of joy. No wonder farming seemed like a natural talent. As Grandpa and I laughed, I suddenly felt someone watching us. Glancing towards the treehouse, I didn't see Carter, but I caught Chloe peeking out from a window. When she saw me looking, she quickly withdrew, her demeanor cautious and fearful. I snorted coldly, too indifferent to bother with her, and got ready to head inside. Chloe, when I hadn't met her, seemed quite audacious, considering she sent her videos to me without any reservations, apparently unafraid of what I might do with them. But upon meeting her, I realized she was all bark and no bite, quite frail. In fact, a perfect example of a clinging vine, just like her name suggests, a frail willow dependent on appearing weak to win over men's hearts and relying on them for survival. Dependence on men for protection is not my style. Unlike me, who relies on myself for everything from setting up the house to raising children, Carter has always been hands-off in our household. He actually used to enjoy being hands-off, appreciating a strong and capable wife like me. I'm not sure when his tastes changed. During dinner, my grandmother brought him half a fish. From upstairs, I saw Chloe wipe away a few tears and then smile. I have to admire how well my grandma manages these little acts of kindness. This half fish was actually leftover from the chicken we've been eating the past few days. No one wanted it, and it was about to be thrown out after being reheated several times. Seeing Chloe devour the fish, I guessed she hadn't had meat for a while. I wonder how things are outside now, and how they've been managing to survive lately. I forgot to ask Carter when he came in today. I still need to find out more about what's happening outside. I'm trying to gauge whether there's still hope for the world to get better. What if, right, Carter truly loves Chloe, he didn't eat any of the fish himself. The next morning, my daughter was lying next to my bed. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was her saying, "Mommy, I love you," which just melted my heart. I kissed her chubby little face. I had insomnia last night, the first time since adapting to this post-apocalyptic life, from initial panic to adjustment. The first half of the night I was worried that Carter's breathing might attract zombies, so I stood by the window watching for a while. Thankfully nothing happened. The latter half of the night was due to the fact I couldn't sleep earlier, and without any sleepiness, I began to worry about my daughter's future. At night, I tend to get really emotional. Honestly, if it weren't for this post-apocalyptic world, although I wouldn't wish death upon an innocent child, I probably wouldn't have given Chloe a second glance, but now, I really hope she can be born safely and support my daughter, at least giving her someone to talk to in this apocalyptic world. When I left the house, Chloe and Carter hadn't gotten up yet. I don't know if it was their first peaceful sleep in this new world or if they also had insomnia and woke up late. I fed the fish in the yard for a while, then Carter came down. His hand was bandaged. I do keep a first aid kit in my treehouse. "Grace, thank you," Carter said, looking at me through the decorative window over the fence. "You really know how to be humble when needed. You didn't look at me like this yesterday." Carter's eyes flickered. "Yesterday, I thought you really wouldn't help." I laughed. "Don't get me wrong, I would indeed not help you, same as now. It was my grandmother who helped you. She has a kind heart." Then, I glanced at the treehouse. Chloe had also gotten up, her eyes still sleepy. Softly calling Carter brother in a tender voice, I immediately got goosebumps. She glanced at me, about to call me sister, probably remembering what I said yesterday, then looked at Carter with a mix of guilt and sorrow. Carter glanced at Chloe and was about to head back to the treehouse. I was just about to call him to ask about the situation. Having waited so long, I couldn't just wait in vain. Then Carter came back. Ella. Oh, she's doing well, eating well, sleeping well, and even learning to read every day. Ella, did she ever mention me?" Shortly after the apocalypse erupted, "She did mention you. She asked me, 'Isn't Dad dead?'" Carter's face instantly darkened, but Ella really did ask that question. At first, I didn't know how to explain the changes in the world to her, but I soon realized that children are stronger than we think. She quickly came to her own understanding of the situation and stopped asking questions. However, one day, she was looking at the zombies outside the window and suddenly asked me if her dad was dead. I didn't answer her at the time because I believed it was true. When I was building the fortress, I planned to send a message to Carter hinting that he should stock up on supplies. Although he betrayed me, I still appreciated that he decisively gave me the money that allowed me to successfully build this apocalypse fortress to protect my family. But when I messaged him, It was Chloe who replied, and then she blocked me. Did you teach her that? Carter's eyes were fiery with anger. Do you think I needed to teach her that? A 5-year-old child, witnessing the world turning upside down overnight, is stronger and smarter than I imagined. Carter, she will grow up on her own. Carter lipped suddenly like a defeated rooster. Grace, I'm sorry. I smiled again. Carter, although we are old classmates, we are divorced after all, and besides, your wife is here. I waved at Chloe in the treehouse. It's probably better if we address each other by name, right? Carter's gaze dimmed instantly. Okay, sis, Chloe called out from the treehouse. Suddenly, I saw a kind of insecure tension in her eyes, a look I had never seen before in Chloe, who usually just nods along. Your wife is calling you, I said with a half smile to remind Carter. Unexpectedly, Carter became furious upon hearing this. Grace, we haven't officially gotten our divorce papers yet. Legally, you are still my wife. I am your wife. Then who is that up there? Your lover. I couldn't resist firing back. Chloe's face turned pale, but she didn't seem angry, just on the verge of tears. Carter glanced at Chloe and fell silent. I stepped back from the window. If you want the divorce papers, I have them. I'll get you one right away. Carter frowned, and I turned away with a smile. I really did have the divorce papers. I hadn't gone to Beijing to register our marriage. I bought them at a small store, which sold them by the dozen because they wouldn't sell them individually. I did it to fool my grandmother and to give myself an explanation, never expecting to use it with Carter. I handed over the fake divorce paper intended to fool my grandmother to Carter. Now you have the divorce paper. I really don't have the marriage certificate here. Chloe's face turned green again in the treehouse. I smirked and was about to walk away when I remembered the main reason I was waiting for Carter here this morning, so I spoke again. By the way, how are things outside now? Carter paused, then all expressions vanished from his face, leaving only a hollow despair. The whole city is gone. When I drove here, it was all zombies. A few days ago, when we could still contact the outside, they said Beijing was gone too. My heart sank, although I had anticipated this might be the case. The last time there was a TV signal, Beijing was still there. So how have you guys been managing to survive this past month? That day it broke out, we were luckily in a hotel, preparing to visit Ella. I bought her a lot of snacks. You survived in the hotel on snacks for a month. Carter nodded. Pretty lucky, huh? Carter nodded again. And how dare you think of bringing her to see me? Carter's expression darkened, and I smiled at him, gesturing for him to continue. Clenching his teeth and glancing at Chloe in the tree, Carter continued. I had called Grandma earlier, and after seeing your bar in the video, which looked pretty odd, it turned out just as I expected. Then, Carter suddenly looked into my eyes. Grace, how did you know the apocalypse was coming? I was taken aback. He was turning the tables on me, just as I expected from Carter's sharp mind. How could I have known? I just built a bar, and it happened to come in handy. This is a bar. What else would it be? I built it with an apocalyptic theme. Before it was finished, I used the bar to keep everyone guessing, and afterward, I stuck to that story. Carter still didn't believe me, but I lost interest in arguing. I had asked all I wanted to. Believe it or not, I have no duty to explain to you, nor did I plan to. You've changed. Yeah. Anyone would change after dealing with a cheating husband and an apocalypse within a month. Both Carter and Chloe looked upset. Chloe glanced at me, but when she saw me looking back, she timidly lowered her head. I chuckled and turned away, feeling quite pleased. When Grandma let them in, I thought life would be miserable, facing my ex-husband and his lover every day, but now, I find that teasing them a bit actually feels quite refreshing. They don't talk back much, probably because they rely on us to survive now. The supplies in the treehouse aren't abundant. Without our help, they'd be in trouble. Life isn't so bad after all. Days indeed passed quickly. The pomelos on the trees ripened, and the lotuses in the pond matured. The cabbages and chili peppers that Grandpa and I planted are sprouting. Carter came in to help with some heavy work a few times, digging up lotuses and pruning the pomelo trees, which have grown too tall and might damage the net on top. He even came into our house to help clean the chicken droppings in the basement. To ensure we have fresh meat, I raised fish, chickens, and ducks. The chickens and ducks are noisy, which could attract zombies, so I dug 2 basements at home to keep these animals. With Carter's help, the farm work in the yard has become much easier. Grandpa initially refused to let Carter help, disliking his behavior. After cheating, he still had the audacity to come to his ex-wife with his lover. Grandpa believed that if he were in Carter's place, he'd rather die outside. I told Grandpa that not everyone has his integrity. Some people aren't so noble. Now, it's quite nice to have an extra pair of hands always ready to help, just like having another neighbor in this apocalyptic world. Carter is very diligent, always ready to help with any heavy work. As usual, Grandma would give fish and meat and some small favors to Chloe, and Chloe would often pull Grandma into a tearful hug. Seeing Grandma becoming increasingly sympathetic toward Chloe each day made me a bit jealous, but then, Grandma told me that she initially regretted raising me to be so independent, capable of solving everything on my own. Such a character could be a disadvantage in a marriage. She thought the art of marriage involves learning to show weakness appropriately. With someone like Carter, giving him a sense of dependency would make him feel more significant in the family. However, I never learned to depend on him, so in the end, he found the sense of dependency elsewhere and brought home a daughter flower. In normal times, a daughter flower can survive because it can always find something to cling to, but in a post-apocalyptic world where support is hard to come by, the daughter flower could die at any moment. Grandma is happy that she raised you to be like a tree. In this world, you have become your own support, not just for yourself but also for Ella, and for Grandma and Grandpa. Grandma's words eased half of the knot in my heart. Who would prefer to be like grass, dependent on others, when you can sustain yourself? Just when everyone in our family had firmly accepted Chloe as the daughter flower, something happened. That day, after finishing chores with Grandpa in the morning, I was so tired that I went straight back to my room to rest. When I woke up, I saw Ella and Chloe standing outside the second floor door. Chloe was clutching Ella's arm, and Ella's hand was just a foot away from a small zombie, nearly as tall as her. I was terrified and scrambled out, rushing to the bulletproof door. Thankfully, just in the nick of time, the little zombie almost grasped Ella's hand. I pushed Ella through the bulletproof door and then harshly slapped Chloe. "What are you trying to do? Hurt her? I might as well help you achieve that." I was about to push Chloe toward the fence when a hand stopped me. The hand pulled Chloe inside the bulletproof door and shielded her. It was Carter. Seeing Carter defend Chloe chilled my heart. Ella was his own daughter, yet he chose to protect Chloe. "Grace, what are you doing?" Carter scolded me. I pulled Ella up, scoffed coldly, and walked away. I didn't even want to hear him out. He didn't deserve an explanation. "Brother, it's okay, as long as Ella is safe. Let's go back, just now." Grace pushed me by accident. I was surprised that Chloe spoke before I did. I was also stunned by her ability to twist the truth. She was clearly the one who put Ella in danger by pulling her towards the zombie, and now she was making it seem like Ella went towards the zombie on her own. I turned around, furious at Carter, and slapped him too. Carter was stunned by my slap. I spoke to him in the fiery tone he used to use on me. "Are you still protecting her? This is my house. Do you believe I would open the door and throw you all out?" Carter clenched his teeth. His gaze darkened. He pulled Chloe to a safer spot, glanced at my position, and then pulled me back, closing the second door. His pull calmed me a bit, and I softened my tone slightly. "Carter, do you know why I hit her? Because she was about to feed Ella's hand to a zombie." Carter's eyes flickered, and Chloe immediately denied it behind him. "No, brother, that's not true." At that moment, Grandma and Grandpa also arrived. Hearing the noise, seeing Grandma, Chloe immediately adopted a pitiful and aggrieved demeanor. "Grandma, brother, it was Ella who wanted to go out and touch that child. I was pulling her back." "Grace, you misunderstood me. What's going on, girl?" Although Grandma stood by my side, her gaze lingered on Chloe's pitiful expression. I shielded Ella behind me, feeling a chill. "Carter, Ella doesn't have the key to the second door. The third gate in our yard is equipped with a fingerprint lock." When it was time to register fingerprints, Ella happened to be there, so I registered one for her too. Thus, Ella can open the third gate. Sometimes, she would sneak out to meet Carter without telling me. I wasn't happy about it, but didn't interfere either. After all, Carter is still her father, though an incompetent one, barely deserving of the title dad, but he is still biologically related. Only a key can open the second door, and Ella doesn't have one, but Chloe does. Chloe got her key from her grandmother a month ago. Chloe usually doesn't like going out, but recently, she said her child was getting older and needed daily exercise. The space beyond the second door is rather narrow, not allowing much room for movement, so she asked her grandmother for the key to the second door. Outside the second door, as long as we don't make too much noise, zombies really won't gather around. Her portrayal of a pitiful creature, like daughter, was very successful. So her grandmother gave her the key. Looking at the little zombie outside, he was about Ella's height, seemingly just a kid from a neighboring village. He had even played with Ella once. I remember, he was also 5 years old. I had once asked Grandma to send messages in the village Instagram group, urging people to stock up under the pretext of a pandemic, but ultimately, some couldn't escape the apocalypse. No, this child. His eyes void of light, his clothes hanging off him like tattered rags. Silent and beast-like, I took a deep breath, trembling as I crouched down, hugging my Ella tightly, burying my head in her embrace, breathing in before I could relax. Thankfully, my daughter still has warmth, still has life. I do have the key, but Chloe, unable to clarify, suddenly turned to Ella helplessly. "Ella, tell your mom, did you go out on your own or did Auntie drag you out?" Others couldn't see her expression clearly, but from my angle, I could see the intimidation in her eyes. Not the pitiful look she had when she looked at us earlier, when she looked at Ella. It was full of coercion. I blocked her, holding Ella in my arms. Ella, tell Mom, what exactly happened? Ella glanced at Chloe, then hid from her, sobbing as she threw herself into my arms. But she still spoke. Mom, I went out on my own. Auntie pulled me. I glanced at Chloe, unable to believe it. The intimidation in Chloe's eyes was gone, replaced by a look of grievance and tearful eyes. I was not satisfied. Took several deep breaths, and pulled Ella aside. Chloe didn't move, but Carter tried to follow. I glared at Carter, and he didn't come any closer. Ella, don't be afraid. Just tell me what happened, and that's how it will be. I pulled Ella to a position with her back to Chloe, ensuring she couldn't threaten Ella anymore. Mom, Ella looked at me and lowered her head. Chin had a butterfly hairpin. I liked that hairpin. I glanced at the little zombie outside. Indeed. He had a small hairpin in his hand, but it was smeared with blood. Mom, I knew that being bitten was dangerous, but I wouldn't let Chin bite me. I would be very careful, said Ella, lowering her head in silence for a moment as if recalling something before looking up at me again. Mom always said lying is wrong. Indeed, it wasn't Aunt Chloe who took me out. I looked at Grace in astonishment and then looked away. I had wronged her. Then I hugged Ella again. All right, Mom understands. But Ella, you must remember from now on, not just being bitten, those zombies Mom mentioned, they are no longer like you, being grabbed, touched, or bitten. It's all dangerous. Do you understand? Ella burrowed into my arms, nodding her head heavily. Mom, I understand. All right. No more mistakes in the future. My tone was firm, not just towards Ella, but towards Chloe as well. However, my posture, head bowed, revealed my guilt. It's just my nature not to bow easily, seeing me weakened. Carter stepped forward as if to seek justice for Chloe. At that moment, Grandma stepped in. First, she gave me a reproachful look, then smilingly took Chloe's hand and said, since it was all a misunderstanding, Chloe, you are our family's great benefactor. Ella, thank your Aunt Chloe. Come on in, everyone. Grandma has prepared a feast to treat you all. How about that? Thank you, Aunt Chloe, Ella said sweetly. Chloe didn't move but looked at me, waiting for my response. I glanced at her, my eyes full of remorse, and took the opportunity Grandma provided to smooth things over, somewhat awkwardly saying, let's have dinner. Chloe sighed, cautiously took Carter's hand, and followed Grandma, who was leading Ella. Before entering, she gave me a look that had an ambiguous meaning. I couldn't decipher it all, but I did detect a hint of smugness, a look not commonly seen in her eyes. But right now, I had no interest in guessing her thoughts. I just wanted to find a quiet place to settle my thoughts. I sighed and followed them inside. Previously, Carter had gone through the hallway to the basement to clean up chicken droppings, but they had not together entered the yard, and entering the house was a first for them. Grandma's house was large, a rural self-built home, designed for spaciousness and comfort, with 4 rooms on each floor. We had reserved 2 bedrooms on the second floor, and the first floor had a bathroom, kitchen, and living room. The rest of the spaces, including the second floor bathroom, I had converted for storage. Though the house was full, it was still much better than a cramped treehouse. Upon entering, Chloe saw the sofa and couldn't help but admire it eagerly, forgetting her decorum. She quickly sat down due to her pregnancy. Realizing we were all watching her, she seemed to remember her manners and awkwardly smiled at Grandma and Grandpa, who looked somewhat displeased. Grandma, your sofa looked so comfortable that I couldn't help sitting down, she said. Grandma sighed. You've been through a lot. It's okay, sit down. You're our guests. I'll go cook. Girl, since Chloe saved Ella today, you serve the tea. I poured a glass of water for Chloe and Carter. After turning around, I headed upstairs. Today, I just didn't feel like talking to them. At dinner, Grandma prepared a large table of dishes, deliberately trying to ease the tension. Chloe and Carter didn't let her down either. The meal went by superficially harmonious. Watching how affectionately Chloe called Grandma, I suddenly realized that Chloe, like a daughter flower, had a stronger survival instinct than I had imagined. She could cling to anyone when necessary, not just men, like now. She had latched onto Grandma. Although I knew that Grandma might be acting kindly because of the baby in Chloe's womb, I could also tell that through their time together, Grandma didn't despise her from the bottom of her heart like Grandpa did. After dinner, Chloe asked Grandma many questions about pregnancy care, and by the end, she was tearful again. Grandma, my stomach hurt badly yesterday. I was a bit scared. It's all right. Giving birth is a hurdle every woman must face. I'll be there to help you deliver. I used to be a military medic. Chloe nodded, looking pitiful. What's wrong? My stomach hurts again. It hurts again. Where? Chloe curled up on the sofa, appearing to be in severe discomfort. Seeing her like this, Carter also became anxious. Although he usually didn't initiate conversations with Grandma, this time he urgently called her. Grandma, she's been like this for a few days. Could you please check on her? Grandma quickly examined Chloe. comforting her with a touch, and then glanced at me before turning back and gritting her teeth. "Why don't you stay here tonight?" It was a definitive statement from Grandma. Grandma, Chloe hesitated, waiting to see my reaction. I had already turned to Carter and said, "I'll walk you out." Carter looked at me, surprised. I said nothing, just waited with a stern face. Carter finally nodded, casting a worried glance at Chloe before following me out. I opened the third door and walked Carter out. "Grace," Carter suddenly called out as he was leaving, his expression conflicted. "Call me Grace," I said, giving him a moment to sort out his thoughts. After hesitating, Carter finally spoke. "If you're not happy with it, let Chloe move back in." I smiled a bit. Carter was good at using moral dilemmas and reverse psychology, so I played along. "Are you afraid we'll mistreat your wife?" "No." "I know you wouldn't. Then what are you worried about?" "Nothing, thank you." I watched Carter's departing figure and smiled again. When I returned inside, Grandma had already prepared Chloe's sleeping area on the couch, her favorite spot. The next morning, when I woke up, breakfast was already made, and outside the window in the yard, Carter had half finished the greenhouse that Grandpa and I had planned to build these past few days, with the cold weather, to ensure we had vegetables in winter. Grandpa and I had planned to set up 2 greenhouses, but Carter had already started the work. I looked puzzledly at Chloe, who had prepared breakfast early. Chloe smiled at me, both pleasing and humble. Yes, her attitude was very humble. "You took me in and I really don't have much to offer in thanks, so I made breakfast. The food isn't bad, and brother just, perhaps recalling something." Chloe paused awkwardly, seeing me looking at Carter working in the yard. She quickly started talking again. "I got up this morning, and so did my brother. Seeing you and Grandpa working so hard on the farm every day, I thought I'd invite him to help out." "How did you get the keys?" "The third door has a spare key besides the fingerprint scanner, but the key is with Grandma. I asked Grandma for it. I was planning to come back earlier, but I didn't want to disturb you all." Sure enough, it was Grandma again. The keys couldn't unlock the door from the outside. The third door could only be opened from the inside. I took a bite of the scrambled eggs Chloe made. They were indeed delicious. Pointing at the breakfast she had prepared, I asked, "Does this look like you were planning to go back?" Chloe indeed had no plans to return to live in the treehouse. Her breakfast had successfully persuaded my grandparents. Grandma said, "Now that it's winter, it's too cold outside. It's not good for Chloe, a pregnant woman, to keep living in the treehouse. And it's not good for the baby either." I actually covered the outside of the treehouse with sheet metal, but a treehouse with sheet metal is definitely colder than a house, and the blankets inside are not down either. It must be really cold to live in, and I don't know if Chloe's previous stomach pains were related to this. Anyway, since she moved in last night, she hasn't complained of pain. For the sake of the child, I didn't object either. However, the most important reason was that Chloe's breakfast had won me over too. Grandma is getting older, and it pains me to see her up so early. I tend to sleep in and can't wake up to make breakfast. Ella needs to eat breakfast as she is growing, and not just Ella. Our whole family needs breakfast in the morning, although it seems somewhat unethical to have a pregnant woman, almost 8 months along, get up every day to make breakfast for our family. Chloe does it willingly, and so, Chloe moved in. After she moved in, the breakfasts were always on time. And she was always humble in her demeanor, mostly quiet, only trying to please Grandma while keeping her distance from me and Carter. Since Chloe moved in, he has been coming into the yard to work every day, with Chloe opening the door for him each morning. With the two of them, one making breakfast and the other working in the yard every day, our family gradually stopped doing much ourselves. These leisurely days are truly intoxicating, since we were idle anyway. I would pull Grandma and Grandpa to play mahjong. Sometimes, we'd invite Chloe too. Chloe plays cards slowly, always counting carefully. I found she was good at strategizing, but didn't win much. Only Grandma always had good luck. I teased her, suggesting that someone who used to wield the surgical scalpel and held the power of life and death probably had steadier hands and a stronger aura. Grandma didn't reply. Time flew by, and Chloe's acceptance in the household grew. Even Grandpa, who openly disliked Chloe, would sometimes show her a little kindness, and me, I found myself calling her more often, seemingly getting used to her presence, though sometimes she still gave me an uneasy feeling, as if she was probing something. She was always trying to peek into various rooms where I stored things. Before she moved in, I hadn't locked the storage rooms, but after she moved in, I locked them, yet she still tried to follow me or Grandma whenever we went to get something. Once, seeing her curiosity, I simply took her on a tour of the rooms with rice and meat products. I saw her eyes nearly sparkle with delight, clearly very pleased. She looked at it fondly, as if it were her own possession. I smiled and told her that I was lucky to have prepared a chaotic mix of things for the bar. Never expecting to use it all, Chloe withdrew her gaze, smiled, and complimented my cleverness before she left. The next morning, I got up early and saw that Chloe and Carter were already chatting in the yard. "Brother, we've got a lot of stuff, everything you could think of, grains, flowers, and a whole house full of meat products. It's enough for several generations to come. Once we get hold of this, what are you guys talking about?" I approached Chloe from behind as she was happily chatting away. Wearing cloth shoes, I moved quietly. Carter was busy weeding and Chloe was facing him, so neither saw me coming. Chloe turned around and went pale, startled by my sudden appearance, and Carter also gave me several nervous looks. "What's wrong with you two?" I asked, noticing their odd expressions. It looked as though I had caught them in an affair, but the affair wasn't what I had exposed. It was something Chloe had willingly shared with me recently. I had grown quite fond of Chloe, especially since her cooking was delicious. Being 8 months pregnant wasn't easy, and besides, her presence meant we were never short a player for mahjong. She even occasionally called me Sister Grace. Apart from that one slap, I couldn't think of anything else that would have made her so pale and frightened. What puzzled me more was Carter's reaction. He was a senior manager in a large state-owned enterprise, and it was rare to see him with such an expression over work matters. No, nothing. I was just discussing with Carter how hard farming is. I was thinking of learning it myself after the baby is born to help you all, Chloe said, looking earnestly at me. I chuckled. Is that all? It's not hard, but you have to be sincere. My grandfather taught me that plants are also living beings. They can sense sincerity. If you care for them genuinely, they will flourish. If you only think about how to consume them, they might not grow well. Chloe gave an awkward smile. I see. Oh. I still have one dish left to prepare for breakfast, and Grandma and Grandpa will be up soon. I'll go cook. She then hurried off almost as if escaping. Watching Chloe rush away, I looked puzzledly at Carter. Previously, Chloe had always been cautious when I chatted with Carter, but this time she even left him behind willingly. I was baffled, so I teased Carter. Your wife doesn't care about you anymore. Carter didn't respond and just walked away. Soon, it was the end of the year. And unbelievably we had survived 4 months in this post-apocalyptic world. One day in December, it suddenly started snowing heavily. Chloe was only a month away from giving birth. It had been a very long time since we last saw such heavy snow here, covering everything with a thick layer about half a meter deep. That morning, Grandma was particularly energized because it was the day before the Lunar New Year's Eve. It was also Ella's birthday this morning. Grandma braved the snow to venture outside. In the snowy garden, she found 2 cabbages and fetched a pumpkin from a cave on the western hill. The hill to the west of Grandma's house harbors 2 caves, which have been there since my early childhood. Grandpa explained that they were originally air raid shelters. Later, when fortifications were built, these caves were repurposed with a corridor leading from the yard to them. One cave serves as a cellar, storing the pumpkins and corn we harvest, while the other conceals a diesel and an electric generator. As soon as Grandma returned home, she was bustling about. By the time I came downstairs, shivering and biting my molars, with Ella in tow, Grandma had already slaughtered a chicken, and Chloe was adding wood to the stove. The kitchen was warm with the stove fire crackling energetically. Grandma was busily moving about, and the iron stove was steaming profusely, filling the air with a long stream of mist. It suddenly brought back memories of celebrating the new year before the apocalypse, smoothing out the oddness of Chloe's presence. "Happy birthday, my dear," Grandma greeted Ella as soon as she saw her descending the stairs. Chloe also smiled at Ella and said, "Happy birthday, Ella." I led Ella to the iron stove to add some wood and said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Then, looking at Grandma, I added, "Grandma, may you live a long, healthy life. And what about Grandpa? Shouldn't he live to 101 then?" Grandpa said as he entered, bringing a chill with him along with some snowflakes. He had been out gathering firewood. I chuckled and took the damp wood from Grandpa's hands. "Well, make it 200. That wouldn't be right. That'd be a monster." We all laughed and teased, my gaze inadvertently passing over to Chloe in the corner. Although she was smiling with us, there seemed to be a chilly undertone in her laughter. Upon closer inspection, Chloe smiled brilliantly at me. Ella's birthday was also celebrated by Carter, who was invited. After a simple breakfast, Grandpa suggested that since it was Little New Year, we should have a reunion dinner in the evening. The New Year holds a special significance in the hearts of Chinese people, especially in these apocalyptic times, so despite the unusual assembly, no one objected, with 5 of us helping. Grandma quickly prepared a table full of dishes and even made a special steamed bun cake with 2 eggs for Ella. Ella used a stick to make a wish on the cake. Marking the occasion, Ella shared her wish aloud. She hoped that everyone at the table could always stay together, safe and sound. Following Ella's words, I turned to Chloe and Carter. "Being neighbors like this isn't bad at all." Carter's eyes twinkled, while Chloe responded with a radiant smile. Indeed, at the dinner table, Chloe pulled Carter next to her and gently placed his hand on her stomach, happily telling him, just one more month to go. It seemed like Carter was suddenly coming to a realization. He looked up at us with a complicated expression. I met Carter's gaze boldly, arching an eyebrow and shifting my eyes away, signaling him to mind his own business. Carter moved his lips but ultimately remained silent. At that moment, Grandpa spoke up. Let's eat, outside." The snow continued to fall, and inside, we enjoyed our meal, deliberately avoiding past grievances and hoping for better times ahead. Grandpa even shared a few drinks with Carter, warmed by the lively atmosphere. With winter days being short and the snowfall heavy, it was dark before we knew it. As usual, I walked Carter out. I held an umbrella as we walked. And after a while, he began to apologize. I didn't respond, assuming he was just speaking under the influence. After a short silence, Carter apologized again. "Grace, I'm sorry." Then he knelt in the snow, crying like a dog. "Grace, I'm sorry. Ella, I'm sorry. Grandpa, I'm sorry. Grandma, I'm sorry." I sighed, looking at Carter in the snow. "Carter, it makes sense that you're apologizing to me and Ella. After all, you failed as both a husband and father. But why are you apologizing to my grandparents?" Carter didn't speak, just knelt in the snow and wept. After a long while, when I was starting to feel frozen myself, Carter stood up, as if he had made a decision, glanced at our house, and then staggered toward his treehouse. I watched Carter's retreating figure and called out to him, "Just one more month, right?" Carter was startled. He didn't turn around, but his staggering figure straightened up quite a bit. "In a month, Chloe's baby will be born. Congratulations, you're going to be a father again." Carter bowed his head, extended his hand forward, and I knew he was wiping his tears. After a moment, he clenched his fist and with a hoarse voice said to me, "Grace, in the next life, may you never meet me." I chuckled, wishing nothing more. After Carter left, I watched his figure and stood in the snow for a long time. The next day I was woken up by noise. When I opened the window, I was stunned. Outside, there were several people alive. This was the first time we had seen other living people besides Carter and Chloe in over half a year since the apocalypse began, but they were not there with good intentions. They had guns. The noise I heard was gunfire. Carter heard the gunfire too and hurried over. Seeing Carter made me feel much safer, and I quickly opened the door for him. After Carter came in, I stood behind him and instinctively pulled on his sleeve. Seeing me do this, Carter softly reassured me, "It's okay, don't be afraid." I nodded, my grip tightening. Carter felt my reliance and stepped in front of me to protect me. "That leader, I've seen him before. He's the tanker truck driver who sold me diesel." I whispered to Carter. I had stockpiled fuel and hired a tanker because of the large quantity needed. "They saw my bar when they delivered it. I didn't expect them to come looking for us now. They mean trouble," Carter said, watching the men cautiously. "Little sister, remember me." The tanker driver caught my eye, played with the gun in his hand, and laughed brazenly, signaling to his companions on the truck. I didn't respond, and suddenly, within my line of sight, the driver fired a shot at me. I was shocked, staring as the bulletproof glass in front of me cracked. It took me a while to catch my breath. The bulletproof glass was already marked with several bullet holes. It was these gunshots that had woken me up that morning. They actually dared to shoot without any restraint, clearly showing no fear of the zombies. I'm incredibly grateful that I had prepared for the worst back then, sparing no expense on 35mm bulletproof glass, and installing 3 layers of it. Otherwise, I would be dead by now. "Whoa, you scared me there, sister. Didn't you say you were divorced last time I visited? Who is this guy?" Carter turned to look at me, his expression questioning why the driver knew about my divorce. I was somewhat speechless. At a time like this, that's what he cares about. Grinding my teeth, I spoke up. "This man, he discriminates against women. Last time when I tried to buy fuel from him, he refused to sell to me, insisting my husband should come. It was only after I told him I was divorced that he agreed to sell to me. He knows I own this place. He came looking for me," I said as I stepped out from behind Carter. "What do you want?" I asked, standing my ground and confronting the fuel truck driver. "This place is really something. I was foolish. It took me almost half a year to realize what this place was used for. It's all thanks to the distress signal your neighbors put on the zombies. If we hadn't killed a zombie and found the cloth strip it was carrying, soaked in blood, I wouldn't have remembered this great spot," said the fuel truck driver, looking at me with a lecherous gaze. I saw the look in the driver's eyes and felt very uncomfortable, retreating behind Carter. Carter was also furious, glaring fiercely at the driver. Just then, the sound of gunfire attracted zombies, but perhaps due to the cold temperature, there weren't many active ones. Seeing the zombies, the fuel truck driver didn't panic. He climbed onto his large box truck, which he was now driving. His truck's cab was high off the ground, out of reach of the zombies. He and his companion on the truck shot at the zombies, headshotting each one skillfully. It's no wonder they had survived over 4 months in this apocalypse without a fortress. The scene was too gory for me to watch. I lowered my head and gently rested my forehead against Carter's back. I could feel Carter's body stiffen for a moment, but then he stood up straight. Sister, don't be afraid to watch. I know the place is yours. Let me in, and I'll help you kill them. We can stick together. The fuel truck driver continued to headshot the approaching zombies. Kill who? I suddenly burst out angrily, stepping out from behind Carter. That useless man in your house. Don't worry, sister, I like you. You can be with me. We have half a truckload of weapons in the back. With a treasure trove like yours, we can go out, loot stuff, and store the loot here. We could live inside forever. I'll be the king, and you'll be my queen. Doesn't that sound good? I gritted my teeth and sneered. Stepping in front of Carter, you want me to kill someone for you? Why should I help you open the door? By now, most of the surrounding zombies had been headshot, with only a few approaching from a distance. Is this your ex-husband or who? You're divorced now. Why wouldn't you be with me? The fuel truck driver's tone was becoming impatient, and his methods of killing zombies grew more brutal. He first shot off the limbs of the zombies, turning them into human sticks. Before headshotting them, I'm divorced, but that doesn't mean I want to be with you, I said as I stepped forward and took Carter's hand. Carter was visibly taken aback but then clasped my hand in return. Seeing my reaction, the tanker truck driver's tone suddenly turned harsh. Oh, you don't like me, little sister. I genuinely wanted to be with you. Suppressing the disgust in my stomach, I glared at him coldly. But I don't want to be with you. Such a pity. I really like this place. It seems now I'll have to take it by force. I've decided, he said, withdrawing his gun used to shoot zombies and fired several shots at us. Then, the people in the truck also began firing relentlessly at our bulletproof glass wall. My hands tightly gripped Carter's, trembling uncontrollably. Carter spoke in a deep, reassuring voice. Don't be afraid. They're probably not military trained and likely don't have heavy weapons. With the kind of firepower they have, the bulletproof glass won't break anytime soon. We also have perimeter walls, and the house is fortified with bulletproof glass. The more they shoot, the more zombies they'll attract. They'll have to split their firepower to deal with the zombies, if they can't breach our defenses soon. They'll exhaust their ammunition and it will be hard for them to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. They'll have to consider that. They're definitely not military, I said, staring coldly at the tanker truck driver. What did you just say? Carter didn't catch it but didn't ask further, instead turning loudly to the tanker truck driver. Our facility is equipped with bulletproof glass thicker than 10 centimeters and the walls are half a meter thick. Your firepower won't break through any time soon. With the increasing number of zombies, are you not considering the waste of your ammunition? The tanker truck driver fired at Carter. I don't need advice from a scholar on your little pieces of glass. I've got half a truckload of bullets left. I'm set on taking this place, and the girl too. Boys, break through this wall. He angrily fired several more shots at Carter. And soon the bulletproof glass in front of us started to show a spiderweb pattern. I felt the first layer of bulletproof glass might give way. I panicked slightly. Look, the first layer of bulletproof glass has been breached. Inside their truck, there are people with loads of ammunition. He just said he still has half a truckload left. I believe he's not bluffing. If they keep firing indiscriminately, our triple-layered walls won't hold either. The spiderweb patterns multiplied. And these men concentrated their fire on one spot. The bulletproof glass I bought was 150 centimeters by 150 centimeters. If they breached just one panel, they could get through. Carter, I called out anxiously, then stared at him. Carter, sensing my gaze, suddenly loosened his hold on my hand. I quickly realized something and spoke up. Don't worry, no matter what. I won't let them in. I can't let them kill you. I need you alive. You need to think of a way. They have so many people firing. The glass won't hold, I said, my voice nearly breaking into sobs. Carter gave me a strained smile. I have no doubts about you. Suddenly, a shard hit the third layer of bulletproof glass in front of us. Startled, I froze for a moment before hurriedly closing the brass doors on the windows. What do we do? What do we do? Carter, the glass has been breached. I began to panic, pulling on Carter. They are about to get in. They are human. And our only defense left is this bulletproof wall. They might try to climb over the perimeter walls, then we'll only have the electric fence to stop them. Electricity. A light bulb went off in my head, and then I looked at Carter. I have an idea. There's an electric fence behind the outer steel mesh, 380 volts. Carter looked at me, eyes wide with surprise. I pulled Carter towards the house, having heard gunshots in the morning. I had already instructed my grandparents not to go outside, and they were staying put inside. As we left, I glanced outside through another window. The intense gunfire had attracted many more zombies, and the tanker truck drivers had turned to fight them off. Our bulletproof glass hasn't been shattered yet, but one panel is almost completely destroyed. Once they break through the first layer of the electric fence, they can get in. I anxiously pulled Carter inside the house, and once we were in, I immediately called out to Grandpa, "Grandpa, go start the generator and connect it to the electric grid." As Grandpa went to start the generator, Chloe, who was in the house, looked at Carter and me holding hands with a tinge of jealousy. I quickly let go of Carter's hand. Chloe was clearly terrified and came to Carter seeking comfort. Carter hugged her gently, then came over to me. Now we both knew that the immediate crisis was what mattered most. What's the plan? We need to lure their vehicle closer. Then, when they're off guard, we can hook a wire to their car with 380 volts. The voltage might not be stable, but if it doesn't kill them, it should at least paralyze them long enough for the zombies to take over. But it's risky for us to approach and lay the wire from inside. They're armed, just one shot, and I nodded. That's why it's safer to do it from outside. What do you mean? I remember when the driver asked me if there were more bars like this one. I told him it was a chain, actually. I was just afraid he'd suspect something. Now Carter doesn't suspect a thing either. I'll give him a set of keys, tell him there's another bar in Wuhan that's mine, identical to this one, and I'll give it to him. Do you think he'll believe that? If I gave you a set of keys as a way to send you off, would you believe it? I countered Carter. Carter shook his head. So, the best strategy is for someone to go out, hand over the keys, and tell him they'll show him the way. Show him the way. Carter frowned. Not really lead the way, but while handing over the keys and supplies, take the opportunity to connect the wire and then make a run for it. We'll power it up the moment the person gets back inside. The person who goes out should return while they're paralyzed, and once they're back, we'll electrify it again and draw more zombies over. Then, we leave the rest to the zombies. Carter nodded. It might work, but we need to electrify immediately after laying the wire. Can we manage that? I led Carter to the electric switch, positioned right by a stained glass window. From there, we could clearly see outside, and I had applied a one-way film, so no one outside could see in. No, the only issue is, among us here, only you and I are fit to go out. If anyone else went, they wouldn't be believed, I said, looking at Carter. I'll go, Carter said without hesitation. Chloe, hearing this, was visibly shocked and both anxious and fearful. Brother, you can't. This is, she looked at me, implying that I should go instead to keep Carter here. I ignored her. Then, Grandma will handle the switch, and I'll go with you to draw their attention. Carter nodded. Once Carter and I were outside, a group of approaching zombies was neutralized with headshots, but now that the engine was running, its roar would likely attract all the zombies from the western mountains as well. No, with our house separating them from the zombies on the western hill, the tanker truck drivers can't see the zombies to the west for the moment. This is to our advantage. Carter and I approached the tanker truck drivers as we had rehearsed. The drivers were skeptical, but Carter spoke up. I'll go with you and lead the way. If you keep fighting like this, you'll soon attract another wave of zombies. You're using up a lot of ammunition. He pointed at the scattered shell casings. And look, the more noise you make, the more zombies gather from afar. Instead of fighting a war of attrition here, why not drive and check out Wuhan? It's not far, just 200 kilometers. I'll go with you, and if you find out I've tricked you, you can kill me then. It won't be too late to come back and attack this place. The tanker truck drivers, especially a young man in a green shirt who looked very tired, seemed to be wavering. Bro, I think we should check it out, even if we conquer this place. It's ruined. Wouldn't a new place be better? Carter held the keys, and despite his reluctance, the driver in green next to him began to falter. Maybe we should take a look. These zombies keep coming wave after wave, and we can't beat them. Holding a gun all morning is exhausting. When have we ever fought like this? We're just looking for a place where we can sleep peacefully at night. If this place is destroyed, it won't be comfortable to sleep in. Let's find a new one. Finally, the tanker truck driver relented. If you lead us there, why would we need to deal with you anymore? Another driver nearby seemed to soften a bit when he looked at Carter and the keys he held. If you have any decency, you'll give me the truck to drive back myself. If not, you might as well kill me on the spot. Either way, my life is in your hands. The truck driver smiled, clearly enjoying the power he held over others' lives. He glanced at me. I'll trust little sister this time. It's a pity. Little sister, I really like you. If you ever regret this, you can come find me, but by then I might have found another queen. I could make you a concubine. I remained silent, worried about Carter. As Carter was about to leave, I shouted loudly, as we had planned earlier, to take some electrical wiring in the physical box. Wait, if he comes back alone, he might not have anything to eat on the way. We still have some food at home. And I see you don't have much on your truck. Can I bring some for you all? I asked. Seeking the tanker truck driver's approval, the driver smiled. "No need to bring much, just bring little sister along." I glared at him, then spoke to his weary companions who kept shifting their shoulders, or you could keep attacking each other, wearing both sides down. The truck driver was taken aback by my boldness, waved his hand, and let me go, clearly exhausted himself. "Give me 5 minutes, and I'll bring you all something tasty." I needed to buy some time. The zombies from the Western Hill hadn't arrived yet. I pulled Carter inside, found a very tightly packed down jacket, wrapped a thick scarf around his neck, prepared a large helmet, and put on a pair of down gloves for him. Chloe watched as I packed Carter's things, seemingly wanting to say something but hesitated. I ignored her, carefully wrapped up Carter, who looked very moved and didn't glance at Chloe for even a second. Finally, after everything was packed, I embraced Carter as if he might never come back, saying, "Carter, stay safe." Carter patted my back and glanced over at Chloe. It was then I realized I was being overly emotional. Chloe gave me a subtle nudge and whispered, "Brother, you must come back safe." Before leaving, she took off Carter's helmet and gave him a kiss. Carter and I, carrying a box filled with wires, stepped out the door. From the west, the zombies seemed very close. We needed something louder, or perhaps, the scent of blood. Carter put on his helmet and came out. The tanker truck driver, wary, kept his gun trained on him. Carter waved at them and called out, "Move the truck closer. I'm scared of the zombies, and besides, I have to come back, and no one would protect me then." Hearing Carter's voice, the driver slightly lowered his guard. Meanwhile, Carter's shots attracted a large group of zombies from the west. Seeing the sudden surge of zombies, the tanker crew raised their guns in dismay. "Li Z, move closer. Let him get on," one of the drivers shouted while fighting off the zombies, signaling his companion to drive nearer. Inside, I helped Carter unlock and lock doors consecutively until he finally went out with the equipment, pretending to board. Carter made the tanker driver open the door, but then dropped his gear. The driver, frustrated yet unable to close the door as zombies closed in, was distracted. At that moment, Carter wedged a rock under the door of the driver's side, then ran to the front of the truck, hooking wires from the electrical network to the truck. Seeing Carter finish, I shouted towards him, "Carter, watch out for the zombies." A zombie ambled towards Carter, about 10 meters to his right. Hearing my shout, the tanker driver noticed Carter at the front and began to close the door slightly, urging Carter to hurry aboard as more zombies approached. However, he found a rock jamming his door and, realizing what was happening, he shot Carter in a rage. I watched as Carter was shot right in front of me. Gasping, I screamed and gestured for Grandma to pull the switch. Grandma pulled the switch. Electricity surged. Instantly, I saw the 4 men on the truck collapse stiffly, followed by the attacking zombies. I also saw Carter fall. Before he did, he removed his helmet and gave me a resigned smile. Watching his smile, tears streamed down my face. I wiped them away, suppressing the complex emotions inside as if he understood something. I turned away, signaling Grandma to cut the power. After the power was cut, the 4 men from the tanker were overwhelmed by the approaching zombies, and so was Carter. Back inside, I broke the news of Carter turning into a zombie to Chloe. Chloe ran outside, screaming in despair at the sight of Carter, almost torn apart. Chloe's water broke. I watched, momentarily at a loss, as the blood mixed with the amniotic fluid streamed down, and the zombies outside grew excited. As if I had been waiting for this moment all along, it was only after my grandmother reminded me that I snapped back to reality, somewhat dazedly following behind her as she directed my grandfather to boil water and arranged for me to gather things to help Chloe with her childbirth. Chloe was wailing in pain and despair, teetering on the brink of collapse. I have given birth myself and knew the intense desperation of the pain. My grandmother was continuously comforting her. "Chloe, it's okay. Chloe isn't doing well, the baby is in the wrong position. Chloe, I've never performed a cesarean section, but I've conducted thousands of surgical procedures. Do you trust me? Chloe, Chloe, Chloe," under my grandmother's repeated calls. Chloe finally regained consciousness. "Grandma, save the baby. Please save him. Grandma, if I don't wake up, you must take good care of the child, okay? Grace, I'm begging you." I nodded, and so did Chloe. After drinking the general anesthesia my grandmother gave her, regarding the medical supplies, it was all my grandmother's doing. I didn't know where she got the anesthetics from. She mentioned she was a doctor and kept them in stock for other patients at home. And now they were being used for Chloe. Chloe woke up eventually, the baby was fine, and so was she. However, over 2 months later, Chloe fell ill again, tetanus. The surgical tools my grandmother had were incomplete. I had to find domestic sewing needles and bend them for her to use as substitutes. After falling ill, Chloe became increasingly thin. Over 2 months, she nearly withered away, showing signs of terminal illness. One day, she suddenly asked me to sleep beside her, sitting by the bed. She seemed in better spirits than before. Grace, you like Zoe, right? Chloe's child was named Zoe, which means little year. I nodded. You'll be good to her, right? I nodded again. Chloe took my hand with her frail one. I have something to tell you. The day Ella went out, I was the one who opened the second door. I actually harbored thoughts of harming you all, thinking that if you died, the house would belong to Carter and me. But, you know, when Ella was about to touch the child, Zoe suddenly kicked me, and I snapped out of it. Then I stopped. Ella, Zoe, and Ella must have a special connection. I didn't respond or pull my hand away. Grace, I'm sorry. Grace, thank you. I envy you for having such a wonderful grandmother. Grace, I think I'm dying soon. Chloe kept talking, regardless of whether I was listening or not. It seemed she just wanted to talk to someone. I also got into bed, lay beside her, and then took out a recorder and played the recording. Brother, living like this makes us inferior. Look at that. The attitude of your ex-wife. She is your ex-wife. Brother, I could bear children for you in the future. Wouldn't it be wonderful for us to live in this paradise as a family? I could bear many children for you if you wish. Right now, we're also running out of food. What if one day they stop giving us provisions? With so many people living here, with such limited land and resources, is there enough to go around? And with them around, we will always be seen as inferior. Look at how your ex-wife looks at you. In her eyes, you will always be a betrayer. Can't you see that she's looking down on you? Do you want our children to live their lives as lesser beings here? We can't rush this. I can't give birth on my own. I need Grandma to help me deliver. Once we gain their trust, we can act, throw them out, or perhaps, I can't do it. Grace is my past. Ella is my biological daughter. Biological daughter. Brother, this is the son you've always wanted. Ella is your daughter, but this here is your son. I've checked with the doctor. It's a boy. Keep her. Aren't you afraid that when she grows up, she might seek revenge for what you did to her mother? By that time, we'll be old, and our children will still be young. Brother, have you ever thought about her? Brother, how long will you hesitate? This is the apocalypse. Killing isn't illegal. If need be, I'll do it myself, and you help me. It's just a matter of a few stabs. Brother, think it over. I'm about to put the plan into action, okay? Chloe's frail body suddenly began to shake violently. You knew all along. I patted Chloe, trying to calm her down and get her to lie back. But Chloe, like she'd seen a ghost, desperately tried to avoid me. She's nearly dead, yet still so afraid of ghosts. I turned my head towards her and whispered in her ear. I installed a listening device in that cabin, on the southern wall. It was originally to listen to the zombies outside. Since there's no internet in the apocalypse, I had to use these primitive methods. I didn't mean to eavesdrop on you. You knew from the beginning. I nodded, and at this moment, Chloe calmed down a bit and stopped avoiding me, quietly lying next to me, her eyes filled with despair. I know. You saved Ella, moved into our house, gained our trust, and checked what I had stored. You planned for 2 months. You first asked Grandma for the keys. And once you had them, you were just waiting for the right moment. If it hadn't been for that little zombie, you would have engineered some other danger for Ella to face before rescuing her, right? I looked coldly at Chloe beside me, accepting reality. Chloe nodded and slowly began to talk calmly with me. I didn't expect that day. Heaven helped me. A small zombie appeared. I watched him for 3 days before I acted. That noon, I placed a butterfly in the zombie's hand, opened the door to lure Ella out, and waited there to rescue her in time. I had calculated your nap time in advance and prepared there for an hour, so calculating and strategic. I nodded, comparing myself to you. Are you mocking me? Chloe sneered. If my grandmother hadn't invited you in that day, you would have found some other pretext to enter, right? Then let me ask you. I didn't know where her sudden competitiveness came from, since you knew my plan. Was your concern for Ella in front of me just an act? No, a mother's worry for her child is natural. It's real, just like you, now at death's door, lying, doing everything in your power to protect your child. Isn't that emotion also genuine? I just knew that before Grandma helped you successfully deliver the baby, you wouldn't openly harm any of us. I just wasn't visibly that worried. What about that slap then? That was intentional. I've wanted to hit you for a long time. Chloe's breathing quickened noticeably, and breakfast, knowing my intentions, and my brother's intentions. You still let us make breakfast for you, work the fields. I knew your intentions, but that didn't stop me from accepting your help. I paused. In doing the chores, you played me. I was almost 8 months pregnant at that time, and you had me make breakfast for 2 months. Not that long, just over 30 days, I said calmly. More than 30 days. And I was over 8 months pregnant. Chloe grew more agitated. Chloe, I didn't force you. You volunteered. I gave you chances. Up until the little New Year's Day, I was always giving you chances. But you never changed your plans from the beginning to the end. I said we could be neighbors. But you and Carter, even after my obvious hints, didn't change your plans. I heard your conversation in the yard that day. I came out to remind you, but you never thought about changing your plans. I took a breath. Do you know, that day, Carter was crying in the snow, apologizing to grandfather and grandmother, but he still decided to go through with your plan. At that time, you had set our death date for a month later. And Carter was also you. Chloe suddenly trembled all over again, convulsing, extremely agitated. Chloe lunged at me, her teeth bared and bleeding, looking exactly like a vengeful ghost. I pushed her back down, calmly, and she was so light, it hardly took any effort. Yes, it was me. How could it be? That day I almost stopped him. How did you convince him to go willingly? Chloe started to sob again, looking helpless and desperate. I actually learned it from you. I know why Carter liked you, because you depended on him, like daughter. I could have acted like you, but I just don't like to deliberately become that way. That day, from the moment those people appeared, I was desperately protecting him, but also relying on him throughout, letting him find the same sense of dependence he felt with you and me. I understand Carter, the night before he was actually apologizing, feeling guilty, and I just used his guilt. I just didn't expect the timing to be so coincidental. His guilt peaked the night before, and the next day it was put to use. You lured him into his death from start to finish, Chloe said, heartbroken. You helped him dress, personally sending him to his death. Grace, your heart is so cruel. Chloe actually spat out a mouthful of blood, showing she truly loved Carter. I just smiled. I was ruthless because if I weren't, by now our family of 4 would likely be just 4 mounds in the yard. Or perhaps you would have ended up as fertilizer, but you shouldn't exploit his guilt to cause him an accident. You're wrong. It was no accident, I said calmly. It wasn't an accident. Are you saying those people were your... Chloe's eyes were bloodshot, almost popping out. She looked like a terrifying female ghost, but she was too weak to even lunge at me. They were my knives, the knives I used to kill indirectly. Why would you use others to commit murder? Looking at the ceiling, I spoke lightly. If I had killed Carter myself, would you still willingly have a child? Chloe didn't respond, but she coughed violently from the agitation. The final deadline you gave us was after you had the child, right? So, I had to act first. I didn't want you to suspect anything. If Carter had died and left you heartbroken, you might not have wanted the child anymore, and what I wanted was this child. I turned my head to look at Chloe, who was glaring at me like a ghost, and smiled slightly. Moreover, I didn't want to get my hands dirty. You might say it's just a matter of a few stabs, but it's not that simple. Even killing a chicken isn't easy, let alone a person. Murder is not easy. I didn't want to do it myself and I'm not good at it. I took a breath and turned back. I also didn't want Ella to know I killed her dad and leave her traumatized. She's 6 now. She understands things. And even if she doesn't now, she will in the future. She wouldn't forgive me, so the best solution was to borrow a sharp knife. If I could get the one I wanted, it would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If not, I might have had to do it myself. Were those people you brought in, and how did you know they would come the day after the Chinese Lunar New Year? I smiled. I didn't know. How could I possibly know that? I just borrowed the knife. I can't control when the knife arrives. Do you know how long I took to borrow this knife and how I got it? I glanced at Chloe with a slightly smug tone. After knowing your plan, every night I threw out pieces of cloth soaked with chicken blood or raw meat, or other blood-stained items, using the zombies as messengers. It took 3 months, but they finally noticed. Rescue cloths. Weren't you afraid someone else might come? What if the knife you wanted didn't find out? I did worry about not getting the knife I wanted, but I wasn't too concerned about someone else coming. The cloth I sent out was like an encrypted rescue signal. I wrote an address on it. My neighbors, a 23-year-old woman with slight mobility issues, and not much supplies left. I used our area's old name, only known by those who've lived here for many years. The knife I needed happened to know it. He couldn't find it initially when he came to deliver oil, but once I mentioned the old name, he found it quickly. You and Carter might not have noticed when you came, but this place is quite secluded, actually very hard to find. Without navigation, it's almost impossible in a world overrun with zombies. Also, knowing you was lustful, a woman aged 23 with limited mobility and supplies would not be at an advantage in a post-apocalyptic world. The burden of being rescued is something most people would avoid unless they had an ulterior motive. The final piece of the puzzle is the address, a very specific one. Just 1 number different from ours. He's delivered oil to me before and has seen my bar. Just seeing this address should jog his memory of what my bar looks like. After all, it's quite distinctive. In this apocalyptic world, who wouldn't want a fortress like that? They came not for the 23-year-old woman, but for the fortress itself. As it turned out, my neighbors have long been gone. Chloe's expression shifted from excitement to shock, and by the end, there was a hint of admiration. You picked such a sharp knife and lost the bulletproof glass walls. Any regrets? Didn't you consider that the knife might cut you as well? I smiled. Of course I don't regret it. The knife I used to borrow for killing was actually my target too. No, it's like killing two birds with one stone. I lost a wall, but technically, it was 14 bulletproof glass panels. There are 15 spares at home. So my grandfather and I will just take our time to install them later. I think the price was worth it. Plus, he sent a lot of guns over, which are no worse than the bulletproof glass. It seems you have a vendetta against that knife. Chloe smirked coldly. Yes, I gritted my teeth. The leader, the oil salesman driver, is a rapist. Many years ago, he and another man in his truck tried to rape me. My mother told me to run. By the time I found someone to save her, my mother was already, they were sentenced to 5 years. But during these 12 years, my mom has been hiding in the U.S. with my uncle. Too scared to come back, I recognized him the moment I saw him, but he didn't recognize me. I scoffed. I added him on Instagram. The last message I saw in his moments was that he had found a gun. Knowing he had a gun, he had already become my knife. Chloe turned to face me, her expression unusually calm, as if genuinely seeking advice. You mentioned earlier you're not sure about the timing. What if your knife arrives after I've given birth? Then I'll have to take matters into my own hands to deal with you and him. I spoke calmly. Chloe suddenly became agitated, coughing up blood again, probably from a lung injury. Grace, I suppose you could handle me and Carter, but they have guns, and you don't have Carter helping you with the electric wires anymore. How will you deal with them? Are you expecting your grandfather to do it? Of course not. I've already planned for this situation. Don't worry. I dared to lure them here because I had already thought of ways to deal with them. Actually, the loss of the bulletproof glass was mainly because of Carter. Without him, I might have dealt with them without sacrificing the glass. Chloe was puzzled. How so? Do you really want to know? I looked at Chloe with a half smile. Not waiting for her response, I continued. For instance, using you, who can't resist, stripped of your clothes outside to attract them. How do people look at a naked beauty? Obviously, they'd be lying in an electrified cage. My cage is charged with 380 volts. You asked for it. Any more questions? Chloe coughed violently several times, almost splattering blood on me. I got up from the bed. Seeing me about to leave, she coughed intensely again. I give up. Grace, will you raise my child? I will, I replied without turning back, but I won't tell her you were her mother. Chloe sighed deeply and lay back down. Okay, I will also tell her she has a sister, born to protect her, that her greatest loves are her family and her sister, that she would sacrifice everything for her sister. Rest in peace, Chloe. Grace, I walked to the door. It had started snowing again. This winter has been long, but the trees on the distant mountains seemed to have green buds, signaling spring wasn't too far off. That night, Chloe didn't wake up again. I executed my plan without ever revealing it to my grandparents, but I felt that my grandmother must have known something. A few days ago, I saw an unopened surgical needle by her bed, yet she still accepted the old, rusty sewing needle I gave her, which was hardly usable. In fact, from the first day Chloe arrived, I had my eyes on her child, when I had previously built the fortress. My biggest worry was that Ella would have to face the world alone someday. Then later, when Chloe and Carter brought their child, I wanted to open the door for them right away at the sight of their child. However, I had to give them a reason to hate me because all I wanted was that child.